What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we back for another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And if you're on Twitch, make sure you follow and ring the bell. We do this once a week on YouTube and every other week on Twitch. I got a question for y'all. What was your favorite cEDH commander from 2024? Some people gonna say, come on, is it Stella Lee? It's the amazing one card combo enabler with minimal storm. You can kill everyone at the table by just drawing your deck and finishing them off with either grape shot or milling them out or however you want to finish the game. Somebody's gonna go on even newer and they're gonna say the new Plagon Lord of the Beach. Recently, Comedian NTG and other great pilots like Golden Sabertooth have been taking the meta by storm with this Azorius commander. And I just have to say, I love the level of creativity that they use when brewing this commander. But I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about the Jolly Balloon Man. This Boros commander is phenomenal. I cannot tell you enough how honestly it has surprised me to see people like B-Rad and other amazing pilots take these tournaments by storm. And if you're not familiar, this is a legendary creature, human clown, that's a 1/4 and costs a colorless and Boros to cast. It has haste, and you pay 1 and tap it to create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature in addition to its other colors and types, and they gain flying and haste. You sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and you activate only as a sorcery. Now, when I first saw this commander, I said, I see the potential. Y'all know I love me a good Rio Your Fire Dancer. But someone else that honestly is a really good friend of mine, patron, community member, everything, like this is the guy, he saw this commander and said, no, I'm gonna break the meta with this. So I just want to say a big welcome and please to introduce Mr. B-Rad to the channel.
Thank you so much, Tia. Really excited to be on here and talk about my favorite deck in the format right now.
Hey, let's get it. Come on. We'll just start from the top. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into cEDH, and then how you stumbled upon this dope commander, bro.
Yeah, so I started playing Magic probably around 4th and 5th edition. So that's kind of where I started as a kid, just going over to my buddy's house, and he had the cards, and we'd build probably like 20 card decks. We didn't do anything legally, but we just started playing, and about 6th and 7th edition is where I started buying cards, and then by 8th edition we were like getting dropped off by our parents to go to tournaments and play standard and get our butts kicked. But yeah, so used to make really bad janky decks back then, and still trying to make janky decks today. So yeah.
I feel that, man. Well, sheesh, bro, like you may want to call it jank, but this thing is a powerhouse. Like, bro, like what attracted you to the Jolly Balloon Man? Honestly, like, because like it's hard to see the potential when you first look at it, but honestly, I'm just gonna say from experience, having played against it a few times, like it's a powerhouse. This thing is honestly fucking amazing. So let's talk to me, brother. Come on.
Yeah, so I'll be very honest. The first time when I first built this deck, your eyes read what you want to see, and I did not see the last line that said activate only as a sorcery. So my first version, the day this card got leaked, I ended up immediately going into Moxfield, dropping it as a commander, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to make this deck. And I started putting in totally ridiculous things that would have been really good without sorcery speed. And I got about halfway through building it, and then I was rereading it, and I was like, oh no. So I realized it was sorcery speed, and I was like, whatever, like it's already in like a good spot. Like I pulled out all the stuff that I was gonna cheat in, like what's that, Aven Interrupter. Like I was super on that card for this deck, but then made the switch to sorcery only and was like, you know what, it's not the worst thing. You know, sorcery speed, yes, you know, people will be like, well, Kiki-Jiki does it better. Kiki-Jiki doesn't cost 3, and Kiki-Jiki is 5 mana.
And it's not Boros.
It doesn't have Boros. You're not getting white. You're not getting that protection, that little added card draw. You're not. There's so many things that white offers to this deck, and so many good cards that white offers to this deck. People that play Kiki, you know, in modern or you know whatever format it is, singleton. You know, you're always running those Feldar Guardians. You're always running those other effects that get you your Kiki lines. So you have those quick and simple Kiki lines. So unfortunately, not all of those work in this deck because it's sorcery speed, but there's still a lot of shenanigans you can do with this deck, even being sorcery speed.
Okay. Well, I want to dive in deep, but before I do, I have one thing to say to the audience. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our ThunderConductor community, it is free to join. Check us out, link in the bio. That is our Discord community where we jam games, we brew decks, talk about spoilers, or just have a blast. But if you want some extra perks like playing on our live streams, shouts on our streams and YouTube videos, and free proxies and discount codes, please check out the TC Thunder Legion. This is an amazing community of amazing people that honestly keep the lights on the way they could not imagine. I want to give a huge shout out to our mono red tier patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, The Prater, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. These guys are awesome, and like I already said, they keep the lights on the way they could not imagine. But if you just say, AT, I don't want the Patreon, the proxies, the perks, I don't want none of that. I just want to say one time for the fun time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry. Check out the link in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. So with that said, before we get into the deck tech, the last thing I want to say is if you're not watching with us live, I recommend that you increase the playback speed to 1.5x for the best viewing experience. But with that said, yo, B, come on, talk to me, brother. Can you just tell me, like, you've kind of hinted at like inspirations from decks like Kiki-Jiki, like, but I just wanted to know, like, what is the deck archetype? Do you kind of define it as like more staxy, pure mid-range, turbo? Like, give us a little bit more, brother.
Boy, I'm glad you asked. So the reason I love this deck is because you can't really pigeonhole it in anything. It's got enough stacks to be stacks. Okay. But I truly built it as a control deck in Boros, which I'm a blue player at heart, mono blue all day. Like I played Teferi was my first cEDH deck. T, you and I bonded over that when we first met. I first met you playing Teferi, Temporal Archmage, and you were just like, no way. And then we just talked for like hours about Teferi and how amazing that deck is. Yes. And so like when I actually built this, I was like, my theory in mind was, okay, like I wanted it to be mid-rangey, but I wanted to be able to control the board. And this card spoke to me as like a very cool control-y piece on my turn that I can use a lot of things and break a lot. There's a lot of things you can break with this card. And I'm, as you know, playing with me, I'm also a player that likes to present a win, then a win, then a win, then a win, and be like, you guys got any for this one? And then try another one, right? So that's just my style, and this deck fits perfectly for that style.
I resonate with that so much, man. Like, I really do resonate with that win to a win to a win to a win, because it's like, there is a flow state when talking about finding your window, quote unquote, within cEDH, like it being a 4-player format. But it's so powerful to say, all right, starting as early as turn 2 or turn 3, I'm going to present a win. Okay, you stop that? Yep. I don't care. I'm going to present this win again. Okay, you stop that? I don't care. I'm going to present a win again. And then you run these, like, as you kind of, we're going to talk about, but you run these asymmetric, almost stacks pieces that don't affect you, that say, okay, yeah, you stopped me, but you still can't win the game.
Yeah, so let's keep going.
Yeah, like, so honestly, like, can you just tell me about the strategy and the game plan that you use from the mulligan to the winning turn? Just talk to me about that, brother.
Yeah, so this deck, I really enjoy it because the mulligans aren't too complicated. Okay. You need to go for it. You got 2 ways to go for this in your mulligans. You're either going for a turn 2 Jolly Balloon Man.
Okay.
If you can get turn 2 Jolly Balloon Man, you're in good hands. Whatever else you have in your hand is just probably gas at that point, because if you can get Jolly Balloon Man down, whatever next creature you're dropping, you're going to easily be able to copy it, and you're going to be able to do something with that next turn. So it's really found on, hey, can I get some kind of mana rock that gets Jolly Balloon Man out on turn 2, or you can go for, okay, I have a stacks piece that's going to jam this game to a halt, and I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And now, maybe Jolly Balloon Man comes down on turn 3, but at that point you're like comfortable with it because the stacks piece you're putting down is gonna kind of grind this game down and stop people from doing things.
I hear what you're saying. I hear that. I feel that. Like, honestly, like, stacks is in an interesting spot in the meta where I can never open my mouth and say stacks is bad. Is more of a thing is like, you have to be very intentional with the use. And so, like, when you think about the strengths and the weaknesses of your stack package and even the deck in general, like, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how do you navigate both within the average game of cEDH?
Yeah, so I'd definitely say the weakness of the game, I'll just bring up one deck in particular, is like Tayum. Tayum's also trying to do the same thing I am. I'm trying to find a pocket faster than Tayum, but Tayum also can grind the game down way longer, and like that's okay for me. But any deck that's gonna really grind it out longer than I want it to be grinded out, like those decks are really tough for me. Um,
Got you.
like the early decks like Roxai actually play really well against Roxai. Like decks like Roxai and things like that. I play pretty good. Like I said, I did build it as a control deck, so I'm also doing things that aren't stacksy, but I can also control the game in many other various ways.
Okay, honestly, I love that. Like, and honestly, that brings me joy because I wonder a lot of times, like, how do you navigate the rock side problem? Like, how do you get past turn one, turn two? But then if you can push out, like, we'll get into these, like, these powerful stacks effects, or even hold up one of our favorite interaction pieces. Like, you know, I love Angel's Grace. People want to hate on it. Like, it allows you to say, like, okay, you're in your final fortune turn and you just hit a Thassus. I love you, but
yeah, you
like,
can't win here.
You can't win.
Have fun on your next turn drawn, bud. Yeah, it's so fun. I do it all the time. It's so fun.
I love it. Look, when you're not in blue, you got to do what you got to do. And honestly, I to this day still love Angel's Grace as an inclusion, but we'll get into that in a second, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, you talked about a lot of very notable decks being Thyme and Roxai, and that tells me that you definitely have some experience in the tournament scene. So can you tell me about your recent tournament play-by-play and just honestly like major experiences you've had?
Yeah, so I actually just took this deck to a 5K. I have the entire, if you go on my YouTube channel, High Ground Gaming, I break down the entire day, all the games I played. I placed 9th with the deck, was really happy with that. Played really well. The deck performed exactly how I was expecting it to. I will say, you know, we'll get into all the nuances, but the easeability of being able to go for wins, as well as the amount of utility this deck has, like, was on full display. And everybody I played literally mentioned like how much they loved the utility that I was able to bring to every game. Like, they were like, wow, you just like kept looping this one card that wasn't winning you the game, but it was shutting everybody else at the board, you know, down. And things like that are really cool with the deck. And then, as well as, I think we'll get into it, the one main reason I fell in love with this deck as an idea is because at the end of the day, the main win con, it's all creature based. So let's talk about free counter spells. So all free counter spells, except for Pact of Negation and Force of Will, target non-creature. So with this deck going for wins, I can't tell you how many games I've won and people show me their, Force of Negation or their whatever card they had that could have countered a non-creature, and they're like, man, if you would have just played had something that wasn't a creature, I would have got you. And it's like, well, that's done with intent. There's a lot of intent for the lines that I have in here to get around things like that, because you're not playing blue to protect yourself as much.
100%. Honestly, dude, I hate to stop your flow, but I'm just be honest. I just dealt with that with a game earlier this week where I was playing against a Najila deck, and I had just I was seat 4, they were seat 1, and I just cast a fish, and I had a Swan Song, a Boseiju, and a Veil of Summer in my hand, and we knew he had a Force of Will. That brother taps it, he casted a Derevi, and I'm just looking at all this interaction. The Kennen player in seat 3 had a Fierce Guardianship, and I think someone was playing the new Storm from the X-Man Secret Lair. They didn't have any counter magic. We just all looking at like it wasn't like we were tapped out. He just played a creature, and we were just sitting there like,
you're just like, it could have been anything else, and we would have all destroyed that play.
Yes,
but because it's a creature, you get around everything, and there's only like 2 cards in everybody's deck that can deal with that at free mana.
Literally, and man, like it can't, you can't, like, you've brought it up, but it's like I feel like people just can't communicate this enough, where just like, honestly, like, creature lines, if your deck can have you one, it just doesn't hurt, because it just gets around so many things. Of course, there is still spot removal, but it's still the spot, like the same way how Roxai says you gotta have it for me on turn 1, turn 2. You gotta have the spot removal for me for the Jolly Balloon Man whenever you push for it. And even then, it's not like you don't play Deflecting Swat and other protective spells, or just Grand Abolisher, so they can't even remove it. So man, I love how you bring up the viability of like creature lines, especially post-ban where like we're seeing a lot of like, you know, Timna, Thrasios and other like heavy creature line decks. But please keep, I didn't want to stop your flow there, brother. Please keep going on your tournament experiences. And also huge congratulations on ninth place on that 5K. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was a blast. And something else that very much came up is my win line. My main win line, we'll get into it later, but it's Village Bellringer. So everybody, you know, when they see Jolly Blue Man, somebody at the table will mention like, hey, if we see Village Bellringer, that's like going to be an issue because they just see it with like Kiki and Modern and stuff like that. So little thing about Village Bellringer is it has flash. So one of the games that I ended up winning, you know, somebody tried to silence me on my upkeep because with this deck, you pretty much tell, hey, I'm gonna go win when you search for Village Bellringer and put it in your hand the turn before, and you don't cast it that turn. You know, you're just like, all right, I just needed to get back to me and I can go for it. So, you know, he silenced me on my turn, and then I was like, in response, Village Bellringer, and he was like, oh yeah, shoot, it has flash. And then it hits the table. I untap everything, but he did have a bounce spell. So he ended up bouncing my Village Bellringer back to my hand because like we talked about, Jolly Blue Man is sorcery speed only. So I did end up having to wait an entire round of turns before it got back to me. But by that point, nobody won the game. I had a Stax piece in play that wasn't letting anybody do anything. So by the time it just came back to me, I go Village Bellringer, and they're all like, yeah, you got it. So, you know, the lines are easy. And there's also some lines that I can't wait to start talking about, the lines that I do to people that nobody even would think of or even like has an understanding about. I'm also terrified of putting this out there because it's just gonna, I'm just gonna describe everything and how to beat me, and B, it's not gonna be a secret anymore because it's really fun having it be a secret when you like take it to tables.
I mean, we've talked about this for like 101 or just like when we jam in a game. Like, Brewers advantage is a huge thing, especially when people how they call it like fringe or, you know, off the beaten path decks. However, I think eventually people are gonna know your secret sauce, and then that is where great pilots come in, like yourself, where it's just like, I can still place even if you know my lines, you know what I'm saying? Because I can leverage things like politics and
it happens every day. I mean, everybody I play with now knows all my lines, and they'll call them out immediately when I'm playing in games with like you or Celestial or you know, whoever, you know, they'll immediately be like, oh, he got that, like don't let the next, like this is the next cards to look out for. Exactly. And then you know, you got to play around that, and you got to, you know, and you know, I'm still winning games with it, so you know, it's cool to win around those things.
And that is I think that is the powerful thing about this list, because even when you get past the fact that it's Boros, even when you get past the fact that, you know, like the lines, once you know them, it doesn't have that same issue where the deck can't like work without a certain card. Like everything layers together so well, and then you run these key stacks pieces that don't affect you, you know, they affect your opponents, you know what I'm saying? And we'll get into that in a second. I just honestly just want to get into like, can you just tell us about these lines? Like, how does this deck look to win in the cEDH meta? Talk to me, brother.
So before I talk about lines, I just want to talk about one thing that we kind of skipped over that I think is really important. Jolly Blue Man's a 1/4. I just want to throw it out there. A 3-drop, 1/4, ain't getting lightning bolted. Am I afraid of a Orcish Bowmaster? Hell no. I don't care. Like, these are things that I also want to say is awesome about this commander. Like, you just don't care. You have a forever blocker, and he's just as haste, so he puts in work. But let's get into the win cons. Okay, so this is probably like the most extensive part of the deck. It has so many layers of winning that it gets really convoluted, and there's some crazy things you can do because there's so much synergy within everything that there are so many broken things you can do. So I guess we'll just start with Village Bellringer, because that's the card that is my most common win line. So the goal of this deck is to put together Village Bellringer combo with any mana dork. So if we go to the win cons, you have Village Bellringer. As long as you have a mana vault in play, you have a Ornithopter of Paradise in play, if you have a Blinkmoth Nexus in play, if you have a Blinkmoth Nexus in play. These are all creature-based land. Like, you can turn on a Blinkmoth Nexus into a creature. That way, when Village Bellringer enters the battlefield, it's going to untap your creature-based land. Then, when you copy Village Bellringer with Jolly Balloon Man, you make a 1/1 balloon copy of Village Bellringer. which is going to come in with a 1/1 with flying, and that's going to untap all your creatures, including your your land that you turn into a creature, and your Jolly Balloon Man. So with those 3 cards, you can infinitely use the land that's now a man land. You can use that land infinitely with Jolly Balloon Man to keep making untapped copies of Village Bellringer until you have, let's say, 1,000,000. And then for me, I always attack everybody with 99 red balloons. You have to do 99 red balloons on every player. That's
so on the top of
that's
it.
the important part. Yeah, you can't say 1,000,000. No, you don't attack with 1,000,000 balloons. You always attack with 99 per player. Kill each person with 99 damage on the dot.
If I'm a dunker you, I'm gonna do it with some style. That's what B just said. He said I'm a dunker you, but I'm gonna make sure to make it look pretty.
Yeah, and then what's better than getting to sing 99 red balloons at people as you kill them in a game of Magic? I don't think anything, honestly.
Nothing at all. I love that, man. Please keep going. That's so awesome. Please keep
so
going.
that's the main line. That's the easy line, but you can get tricksy with it. So now let's just say I added Duelcaster Mage recently into this deck because everything that Duelcaster Mage combo does, I kind of also want to do. So like Molten Duplication, I mean, that's gonna help me also copy other things if it's never a dead card in my hand because all my stuff has ETB triggers.
Yes.
So Duelcaster Mage line is really easy. Also, if you can get a Sticker Goblin on 5 mana and get him out like turn 2 and just have the perfect hand, you can literally just win the game with 5 red mana, easy peasy, like game's over. So I just love having that in here. This deck can explode red mana off of various different ways, and one of those, being the Sticker Goblin, or there's other ways to make infinite colorless mana that you can get tricksy with. So but Duelcaster Mage line, just put it in here. Duelcaster Mage also is great as an ad nauseum, when you're like, oh, why not also have an ad nauseum? So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. So it gives me a little bit more interaction and control and stuff. Or it's a counter spell. If I go for a win, you can use it as a counter spell. It's just got so much utility. It should probably be moved to my utility spot. I don't think it's in my utility. Oh, it's in my interaction spot. Okay. But other than that, it's great. So Molten Duplication, and that just wins you the game. So now we're at 2 combos.
Okay.
Let's get into the next combo. So infinite colorless mana is king in this deck. It doesn't matter. Jolly Balloon Man does not need a color. It just needs colorless. So I play Zerda, and I play Basalt Monolith, and I play on top of it, I also play Grim Monolith. So if you just get infinite colorless mana, there's a ton of shenanigans you can do. I have things in here like Staff of Domination. Once you get infinite colorless, you can infinitely tap and untap Jolly Balloon Man to make infinite, doesn't matter what creature it is, it can be anything. You can just make infinite 1/1s of anything and you kill everybody at the table. If somebody throws a wrench in there, you can also just draw your whole deck with Staff of Domination and infinite colorless. So I just go, oh, you have 1 ring protection right now. Instead, I'm going to draw my deck, and I'm going to go for one of my 2 ways to kill you if you have the 1 ring in play. Gotcha. So I really wanted to push 1 ring interaction as part of this deck because it's so creature based, the kill combos, that I really wanted to have ways to say, oh, you are 1 ring, like let me get around that and I can beat you a different way as well.
So I gotta pop, if you please don't mind, can we just please just give this man a hand clap just of thank you. You just said something that I think is so important for like brewers out there, whether you're newer in the game or you've been doing this for a while. If you can't win through the 1 ring, I don't know how you plan on winning in the year of our Lord, about to be 2025. Like, thank you, B, for making that point. You're 100% right. Please keep going, but like, guys, win through the 1 ring, like leverage this deck tech a lot, please. Like, B is 100% right. You have to be able to win through the 1 ring. I had to just say that. Please keep going, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, and then another way to make, so say, okay, I'm not making infinite mana off of Zerda, because I will say one thing with Zerda, I can't search for Zerda. There's nothing in this deck besides a gamble that would let me search for Zerda. Gotcha. So it is really a card that if I get, I pivot to that, which is how I built the deck. I built the deck if you get one card, it's very easy in this deck to pivot to that win. So I built it with a lot of different win lines because I don't have black to just search for anything I want. Like I have to search for very specific things in this deck, and so Zerda is one that I can't search for, and that makes it a win line that comes up if I draw her immediately, or him, I don't know, it's a fox. If I draw Zerda, I'm immediately pivoting to infinite mana lines without hesitation.
100%.
The other way I get infinite mana is if we just scroll on over to the old Ashnod's Altar. And something about Ashnod's Altar is when you're making creatures and you're untapping, it makes it really easy to sack a creature for 2, use 1 to reactivate the Jolly Balloon Man, and then I'm banking 1 mana. So I can stack my balloons as I make them, eventually making enough balloons. I do need a way to untap Jolly Balloon Man, so there does need to be some extra setup here, depending on what that is, but I can make infinite mana off of Ashnod's Altar if I have the right line. So say I have a Village Bellringer, but I don't have a Mana Dork, and I'm like, crap. What's cool about all my artifacts is if you look at them, they're all under 3 mana. And it's like, Brad, why would you do all your artifacts under 3 mana? It's because I'm on Goblin Engineer, and I can easily go get any one of these 3 mana rock pieces or 3 mana artifact pieces to go for a win line. So say I just have Village Bellringer and Jolly Balloon Man. It's like, crap, it doesn't look like I have a win on board, but I do have Ashnod's Altar. People don't think I tap Jolly Balloon Man, make a Village Bellringer, but that 1/1 copy comes in and untaps, but now I don't have any more mana. I'm out of mana. Well, I sack it to Ashnod's Altar, use 1, I bank 1. And then I can now just bank infinite Village Bellringers, but they keep getting sacked until I have 1,000,000 mana floating. Then I can use that 1,000,000 mana floating to keep making the copies without having to sack them. So then you can also just get around not having a Mana Dork. Ashnod's Altar is another way to just make infinite colorless to get Jolly Balloon Man infinite Village Bellringers. So if you kill my Dork, there's still a way. If you kill, whatever you kill, there's always still a way, and I'm trying to go for it on my next turn, more than likely.
Very good layering. Yes.
Yeah, so there's another way to make infinite mana. Now, Auriok Salvager. Auriok Salvager is a great card to make infinite mana with this little card called Lion's Eye Diamond, if anybody's heard of it. Bomberman line. What's nice about this deck is to get around the One Ring, I put the Bomberman line with Blind Obedience. You can infinitely cast Lion's Eye Diamond, paying the 1 black as you cast it infinitely to drain the table and gain 1 life infinitely.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really cool. But let's talk about other lines with Auriok Salvagers. Some lines that people might not think about. So let's say I don't have Blind Obedience. Say I have Auriok Salvager and I easily go get Lion's Eye Diamond off of any of my tutors to the graveyard to get it back in my hand to be able to use Auriok Salvager to go through that line. Let's talk about Lion's Eye Diamond, infinite mana, into a little thing I call Vexing Bauble.
Ooh.
Because Vexing Bauble draws a card for 1 mana. And Auriok Salvager puts artifacts that are 1 mana back into your hand. I can draw my deck off of Lion's Eye Diamond, Auriok Salvager, and a Vexing Bauble. And nobody will see it coming.
Ooh.
Once I have my library in hand, now I can do whatever I want. I can literally beat you any way I wish, and I have enough free mana to get down on the table, and I have enough firepower at that point to do whatever I want, right? So a little tricksy line there that I don't think a lot of people think about or know about. I've never seen somebody do it. I've done it quite a few times. But it's a pretty nifty little line.
100%.
There's a lot you can do with infinite mana and Auriok Salvager.
Wow.
So that's another line. Just get that infinite mana. Go
ahead. Keep going with your flow, brother. You kill it.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, notably, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you got to cast it infinite at times. Well, that's where what comes to my mind is that's where this deck differs from, we brought up earlier, Kiki-Jiki. Because we have white, we can drop a Grand Abolish or a Ranger Captain Veils Silencer, that I really love how this deck has both red and white. You get the explosivity of red and you get the protection of white, and also this is just a technically a mono white combo that you have access to because you're in the Boros colors. I love the utility. Please keep going, brother. You're on a roll. Keep flowing, brother.
Yeah. So now we're gonna get into other things I do with my infinite mana. So I added Umbral Mantle into this deck.
Okay.
I'm on. It's easily searchable many ways. I'm on Stoneforge Mystic. I can get it. I'm on the Goblin Engineer, which easily puts it into play. There's just so many lines. And guess what? Grafdigger's Cage. Guess what that card? It screws over graveyard decks like mine, but there's a little wording on it that it talks mostly about creatures. It doesn't say anything about artifacts. Goblin Engineer completely gets around it. It doesn't affect me. I played in tons of games where people are like Grafdigger's Cage and everybody at the table sighs, and I'm like, cool, like everything I'm recurring from the graveyard doesn't deal with that. So you're also getting around a common stacks piece that shuts down tons of decks and doesn't really affect you. You're able to still go for like an Umbral Mantle, get it on Jolly Balloon Man, infinitely tap and untap Jolly Balloon Man with your infinite mana, and you can literally kill anybody however you want. And let's also go into if somebody has a One Ring in play again. Now we're coming to this Charming Scoundrel.
Yes.
Love this card. It's a big Rionia card. I know it's a huge utility card. 2 mana, 1/1 haste. Super important that it has haste. No, just kidding. But it does let you discard a card and draw a card, which I will say with this deck, I'll either have like 10 cards in hand or I will have like 1 or 2 or none. There's a lot of times that happens. I'm discarding to the Lion's Eye Diamond, things like that. Then I just love Charming Scoundrel because it'll be in play and I'll just make a copy of it. I'll discard 0 cards because I don't have one, and I'll just draw a card. Or you're trying to fill your bin. Say I have Goblin Engineer in play and I drew my stupid Umbral Mantle and I want it in play, but I don't want to risk casting it because there's a bunch of gross blue players at the table. Oh, guess what? Copy Charming Scoundrel. I will discard my Umbral Mantle. Oh, activate Goblin Engineer. Sack something stupid. Put Umbral Mantle in play. Equip it for Jolly Blue Man for 0. Oh, anybody got any action? Untap it for 3. Okay, make another copy of another creature that lets me start doing shenanigans. That line works as well. It's an awesome line. And then the last text is, I think, what's most important. It does create a treasure, so early game I'll just play it, get my treasure, and be on my way. But late game, create a Wicked Roll token, attach it to Jolly Balloon Man, then untap Jolly Balloon Man with Umbral Mantle, create another Charming Scoundrel, put that Wicked Roll on Jolly Balloon Man, it falls off, everybody loses one, infinitely make Charming Scoundrels, and will infinitely kill the table without having to go to combat.
And this is why I love it. Like, just keep going. I have nothing to add on. This is amazing. I love this. And you did touch on this, but notably, I learned this when I was playing my Rionia deck. As the Wicked Rolls from the Wilds of a Drain, these rolls, you can only have 1 roll on the creature. So when the new roll comes on, it will knock off the old one. So you'll get the trigger. Like originally, I thought that you had to go to the end step and let all of them fall off. But notably, you can only hold 1 roll on one creature. So
fun thing I can do is make infinite charming Scoundrels and leave them all on the new one that comes in, and then just end my turn, and 1,000,000 of them will die and just kill everybody.
Do y'all want to die now, or do you want to die later? We can do it. We can do it.
Do you want to die now? Or you want me to end my turn and die? So Charming Scoundrel, it's a new edition. I like super excitedly messaged TT in like a late night one night after I kind of was coming up with some different changes to the deck, and I was just like, oh my god, this card. And he was like, oh yeah, we use that in Rionia, and I was like, oh man, I love it. It's so cool. So I got really excited about that card.
Bro,
another. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, when you had sent me this card, I was like, bro, this man is cooking. Because when you found this one, for me, what I was thinking about it is like, this man is cooking. Because I remember when the One Ring got printed, we were like, we were looking at cards that said damage can't be prevented this turn to kind of get around the protection mechanic, and we was looking at all these different things. And I remember when Charming Scoundrel was released, we were literally like, this is the answer to our prayers. Oh my gosh! Like, not only is it a 2-mana human, because we're on we'll get to it, but Rionya plays Pyre of Heroes, and so we can put that into a combat celebrant. But then also the fact that we can loop it for Rionyas with Aggravated Assault. And so like when I saw you tap into this, I was like, this man is cooking, bro. He's cooking, bro. I couldn't express my joy when you brought this creature up. Fuck yes.
And not only that, like it was important because I was trying to find humans. We'll get into it later, but if you'll notice, if you scroll through this whole deck, it's very big on humans. There's literally, it's either humans or goblins that I have in the deck, and then anything that's a one-off is just a one-off. So like Dinge Monk, Jin Monk. I think there's another one-off of a pirate. There's a one-off, but everything else. And I'm going to get to that point of why the Fox, the Zerda, everything else, and Feldar Guardian, which we also need to talk about as a win con. But everything else is a human or a goblin for a very specific reason. We'll get in that too later. But for now, let's talk about Charming Scoundrel being a human is huge, and we'll definitely tap into that later. So 100%. another win con, aka also infinite mana loop, is Mana Echoes, which nobody plays, and that gives me a huge advantage because people see me cast it. Nobody counters it unless you're T, and you know what's coming. But Mana Echoes is huge in this deck. It is one of the powerhouses of this deck. It is awesome. The Mana Echoes reads, whenever a creature comes into play, you may add one colorless to your mana pool for each creature you control that shares a creature type with it. So basically, Jolly Balloon Man is a human. Right. Any other creature that I'm probably trying to copy is also most likely going to be a human. If I do get Mana Echoes out early, I'm trying to get it out on turn 2, 3. If I can get it out before Jolly Balloon Man, I'm doing that, because when I cast Jolly Balloon Man, I'll instantly get a mana back after, once it hits the table. 100%. So what's cool about Mana Echoes is it's not just on my turn, T. It's on your turn. It's on the next player's turn. Whenever they cast a creature that shares a type with any of my creatures, I get that much colorless mana. And, I mean, what can I do with that colorless mana, you ask? I can untap a Basalt Monolith. I run Basalt Monolith. There's nothing greater than me having 2 or 3 humans in play, and somebody goes, oh, I'll just cast this, Auriok Salvager. And you're like, cool. It's human? Yep. All right, I'll get 3 colorless mana until the end of your phase. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's whenever a creature comes into play. I get 1 for however many I have that share a type with it. So then I'll use that to untap Basalt Monolith. People have played like 2 humans while I have like 3 humans in play. So I'll get 6 colorless mana. And all of a sudden I'm using that 6. I can use Staff of Domination to draw a card. I can tap a creature that I don't want to be used to be tapped attacking. I can untap one of my creatures. I also, if there's nothing else to do, I can gain 1 life, untap it, gain 1 life, depending on how much mana they're giving me. But Staff of Domination, Mana Echoes are like BFFs. They work so well together, as well as like Basalt Monolith or even Grim Monolith. I've had many times where I've untapped a Grim Monolith on somebody else's turn just because I had like 4 humans in play and they cast a human, and all of a sudden I'm untapping a Grim Monolith, which I would have never had that mana had they not cast a human. So I mean, all I need is Mana Echoes, Jolly Balloon Man, another human. I copy that human, it comes down, I get 3 colorless mana. I use that 3 colorless mana to use something like Staff of Domination or Umbral Mantle to untap Jolly Balloon Man for 3. Then with a 1 other mana that I have from anywhere, I can now use that 1 mana to make another copy. Now that it'll make me 4 colorless mana. And it just put me into making infinite colorless mana now, because now I'll just keep having a creature come in, and every time the next creature comes in, it adds 1 mana to what I get. So if after I hit 3, once I have 3 creatures, as long as I have 1 extra mana, all of a sudden I'm infinite mana and I can run away with the game and make infinite whatevers.
God damn, Bookie.
And I just need any piece. I just need any piece to let it keep going. And then, Umbral Mantle, Staff of Domination. Another card that I haven't even talked about was Feldar Guardian. I mean, everybody knows what it does. ETB, untap, or ETB flicker. It comes in, I flicker Jolly Blue Man. Jolly Blue Man has haste. I pay 1. I flicker the Feldar Guardian again, and I can just keep doing that as long as I have anything that lets me keep tapping for mana, or like we talked about Ashnod's Altar. That also, Ashnod's Altar, Feldar Guardian, Jolly Balloon Man. It makes me infinite colorless to get infinite balloons, infinite turns. There's just so many different ways you can go depending on how it is. But Feldar Guardian is also just a great thing to have in the beginning of the game. I'll cast it all the time, not even trying to win. I will have a Grim Monolith in play. I'll activate Grim Monolith, tap 1 white, play Feldar Guardian. Use Feldar Guardian to flicker my Grim Monolith, untap Grim Monolith. Then I'll use Grim Monolith to use Jolly Blue Man to copy Feldar Guardian. Feldar Guardian comes in, untaps Grim Monolith again. Now all of a sudden I have an explosion of 5 free mana to do whatever I want with. And things like cast, I mean, we can get into it. I wanted to save my spicy tech with Karn, the great creator. We'll save that for last, but cast a Karn. People are like, wait, what just happened? You cast Feldar Guardian, all of a sudden you have a Karn on the same turn. And it's like, yeah, I'm not trying to win, but you know, everybody's pretty screwed, you know, at the table. Literally. So, you know, it's nice. You can just, this deck can explode mana. And we haven't even got to Sticker Goblin and how Sticker Goblin works with this deck. But let's get into more wins. We want to talk about more wins.
Let's get it.
So, Underworld Breach. There's just so much shenanigans. I mean, I'm not even going to go through like Underworld Breach in this deck is utility. I'm not on Grinding Station anymore. I was, but now it's just Underworld Breach. You stop me from winning. I cast an Underworld Breach and I try to win again with a Breach, you know, in play, casting all my stuff from my graveyard, which I can fill up my bin pretty consistently because I have things like Charming Scoundrel. I have things like Goblin Engineer that are just, I'm copying Goblin Engineer, which lets me just keep filling my bin with stuff in my graveyard. So Underworld Breach is really just in here to keep a win going. If somebody stops me, I can usually make enough mana to be like, on that same turn, be like, oh, you countered my Village Bellringer? Okay, Underworld Breach. Oh, you don't have a counter anymore with that? Now I'll cast Village Bellringer again. And then we'll just go in for the infinite combo.
To support is basically Underworld Breach is basically it allows you to support your play style of I want to present a win and then a win and then a win and then a win. Yeah. We don't need it for a Grinding Station combo or like with the Wheel of Fortune. Well, I mean, technically you are on Wheel LED, but that's not the point.
I am on Wheel.
Yeah, we don't need it for that though, because technically this is a good deck for that because you do run silence effects, so you don't mind the wheel people and you know draw your deck that way. But the point I'm trying to make is though. I do like it that when you're using Underworld Breach, not just the powerhouse it is, but it supports your play style. And I love that, brother.
It's great. And I just won a game recently where I got completely stuffed. And I had like 7 cards in hand and an Underworld Breach. And on my turn, I cast the LED and then I cracked it, discarding my whole hand into my grave. And then I was able to, because I went for like a Duelcaster Molten Duplication line, and both of them were in my graveyard, and I was able to literally just crack LED twice, get rid of 6 cards, and then just do my Molten Duplication Duelcaster Mage line again that they had just stopped. And it's like, what a great way to like pitch your whole hand. And like I was drawing so many cards that when I pitched my hand, it just basically gave me enough shenanigans to do my Underworld Breach line. Like I didn't need a ton, I just needed enough to just get that line back out, and it worked.
No, 100%. One thing I love about all your win con lines, and you kind of touched on this with Feldar Guardian, is they're not just win cons. They have value outside of winning the game. As people know, I recently brewed a sign of Dragon list, and I haven't released this update yet, but I've recently taken out REX Salvagers because from like my list, it was only a win con and it was a dead card in hand. But as B brought up, like he can value cast REX Salvagers to trigger his mana echoes. You know what I'm saying? Where he can turn 4 mana into maybe 4, 5, 6 mana, depending on how many humans he has out or whatever the heck he wants to do. So it could be a combo piece, and it has this value of like, oh yeah, by the way, remember how during your turn I cracked my Vexing Bauble because we were trying to stop this person. Well, you still need to win with Breach, so let me re-get my Vexing Bauble back out the graveyard,
put it back in play.
And put it back into play. So the stack game playing doesn't stop. And so I just had to bring that up, how much I love that. Like I haven't really heard of get a card that is like a dedicated dead card. You know, like even something like Umbral Mantle can get bigger, can help your commander get bigger. So since we already are on the creature game plan, we can support a strategy of like, well, I want to start putting pressure on people's life totals, which B is really good at. Like I'm gonna tag it up here. There's a gameplay if I can find it. No, it was on his channel where he was on his Malcolm, Francisco list, and was just bashing my face in with his Bowmaster and his growing Francisco, and it was just like, B is one of those players who respect the power of combat damage, you know what I'm saying? And he's actually one of the reasons, like some of the players why I like tell people like, I'm not on that now, I'm not on bosses, I'm not on the Necro, like cause it just, you know, it in a game where B has the strength of slowing it down, you don't have the luxury of just saying, well, we'll just wait to win. No. In the meantime, while he's slowing the game down, you're going to feel his presence at the table. So I could talk about that all day. But like, I do love how we really haven't seen a card that's just a dedicated, like, this is just dead. And when I see it, I hate seeing it. Now, like, everything has multiple utility to support something else in like this intertwining phase. And so I love that, brother. Please keep going. Yeah.
I will say I had a game where I had an Auric Salvager and Lion's Eye Diamond and Jolly Balloon Man, but no other creatures on the table. Oh no, I had Auric Salvager. No, maybe it wasn't. What was it? I had a way. Maybe it was Zadara. I think it was Zadara and Basalt Monolith, and I had nothing else I could do. So I had a Jolly Balloon Man with an Umbral Mantle on it, and I was like, I guess I'll just infinitely make Jolly Balloon Mans like bigger, and like that's all I had. Like it made him like a zillion, and like I mean, if you can do that, you're still hitting somebody to kill them, infinite. Right? Like yeah, exactly,
literally.
But yeah, no, I mean, Umbral Mantle's sweet because you can also just make Jolly Blue Man super big.
Yeah.
A different win line that I really want to talk about that I recently added to the deck that has just been so OP, I love it, is Coercive Recruiter. And I'm sure, Rionia, you know all about this card, but in Jolly Balloon Man, it gets real dirty. So, Coercive Recruiter, I'll read it. It's a 4/3 pirate. Whenever Coercive Recruiter or another pirate, I want to pause here. Whenever Coercive Recruiter or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. Until the end of turn, it gains haste and is a pirate in addition to its types. So, with Jolly Balloon Man, let's say it's turn 3, and I already have Jolly Balloon Man in play, and I have enough ramp to cast Coercive Recruiter. Cast Coercive Recruiter. Most people, honestly, don't think much of it. They're just like, okay, yeah, like, what are you going to steal for a turn? I will steal your Mana Dork all day. That's a beautiful Birds of Paradise you have there. I would like to take that. Or anybody playing green is usually going to have some kind of Mana Dork out. So why should I have to play Mana Dorks when you're going to play them for me? So Coercive Recruiter enters the battlefield. Steal your Birds of Paradise. It untaps, it gains haste. Now I activate your Birds of Paradise to activate Jolly Balloon Man. Copy Coercive Recruiter. Coercive Recruiter and the Balloon copy are both pirates, and they're both Coercive Recruiters. When my Balloon copy of Coercive Recruiter enters the battlefield, I will gain control of 2 creatures that I can untap and give haste. Guess what I do on my first one? I target my own Jolly Balloon Man, and I target my own Mana Dork, because it doesn't say opponent. All of a sudden, I untap your Mana Dork, and my Jolly Balloon Man activated another time. Now I have a third Coercive Recruiter coming to play. Now I get to steal 3 creatures. I'm going to untap. I'm going to target my own Jolly Balloon Man. I'm going to target your Birds of Paradise. And now I'm going to start picking off your creatures one by one as I make infinite Coercive Recruiters and can go through some crazy lines. The other day I stole somebody's... what did I steal? I stole 2 Mana Dorks and I stole somebody's Thrasios. And there was something weird in play that was not going to let me win the game. Wow. And what I ended up having to do is just infinitely do that until I was able to draw my deck with Thrasios, put all my lands in play. Oh, it's because one person had a 1 ring, and I had my Deafening Silence in play. So I couldn't cast another spell. But what I was able to do is steal their Thrasios, so I made infinite copies. I killed 2 people at the table, but I put all like half my lands into play and drew half my library until I hit another win con for the next turn and like all the protection I could ever ask for. And then I discarded to 7, past turn. He tried to do some stuff. I immediately Angel's Graced on his turn. Was like, cool, you pass. He passed. I had a ton of interaction and counter magic in my hand. And then I think I just looped it again, and I was also like sacking everybody's creatures. It was really fun. Somebody had like a sack outlet, so I sacked all his creatures before giving them back to him, and it's a lot of fun. Course Recruiter is a great card, and it just steals everybody's creatures and makes you infinite balloons to kill the table, and nobody sees it coming.
Man, and I love, like, my favorite thing, well, 2 favorite things about. First favorite thing is that you can do any mana dork with this, because like who doesn't have an Elvish
Colorless.
Mystic or a Birds of Paradise or what was that, Bloom Tender, or anything
Bloom
that
Tender,
taps
it doesn't matter.
and gain and just to make mana in a meta where green is a lot more popular post ban since the banning of Dockside, Mana Crypt, and J-Lo. We're seeing a lot more mana dorks. Death Right Shot, well, Death Right Shot because not that one because it's Exile lands, but you get the point what I'm trying to say. First, that's my favorite thing. My first favorite thing. The second favorite thing is that I have when I started playing Rionia, I was one of the, once again, there was a lot of things that I just did differently as a Rionia pilot, and I saw success from it because it fit my play style of like, I like to win in one explosive turn. And so like, I want just game over, just let's stop talking about this one explosive turn. And so I actually got off of Coercive Recruiter when I started really like tapping into the Rionia community. So I didn't fully understand the power of gain control on top of gain control of top of gain control because of Pyre, all these effects, and how it layers with the Jolly Balloon Man, because it's so cool that the thing I love about this is that it itself is a pirate. So you like when you start to explain like it itself is a pirate, and then what you steal becomes a pirate, and then on top of that, because of how Jolly Balloon Man is red, it says it is it's a 1/1 red balloon creature in addition to its other colors and types, meaning that like it's just, I love how it's an exponential thing where you basically when you, it's like it makes me think of like maybe like a meme bet for creatures on board, where you use your opponent's board states of all these busted creatures that we run nowadays in cEDH, like to just win the game. You know what I'm saying? So like I can't draw my deck because of OBM. That's not a problem. I would have still the OPM, so it's not a problem. So the layering of this card, this is a lot more busted, and they just
it's busted in my deck. I mean, and your Rionia, like you get what, maybe like 3-4 copies of it, but and then you don't get to keep going. You know, I you know, it's cool in Rionia, but I like, for me, it's like a whole win con in its own. You know, self with my commander. And the other thing what's cool about Course Recruiter is you can just target the same creature. Like, say you get to the point where you're like, you have 5 copies of it, target the same creature, and then every level, like say it's a mana dork, float the mana, untap it, 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 and you can now just like have floated, like say you have a Birds of Paradise, now I just floated like 5 white, you know, and if you know, that's where you need to do in that moment, you know, so you can kind of, once you've stolen everybody's creature, now you can just start pumping out tons of mana.
100%. I love this creature. I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, if you all are not familiar, B-Rad brought this up. This was my origin story to cEDH. I played Rionia Fire Dancer, and we make clones as well in mono red, but it's at the beginning of combat. But you would think that the sorcery speed from Jolly Balloon Man would be a problem, but the fact that you can activate it as many times as you want, it honestly makes this card a powerhouse, and makes me re-look at it in a different way than I ever really looked at it, because of the layering of creature types, where we don't really talk about Kindred too often, like that Kindred building style within cEDH, because most people are just playing good stuff piles, and the fact that you're able to lean on that Kindred play style within just a singular card of your deck, it's fucking phenomenal. I'm just gonna be honest,
it's so fun. It's so fun to play. I can't tell you, like when I first put it in the deck, this guy in the Jolly Balloon Man, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but he turned me on to it. He was like, try Course of Recruiter, you know, and I was like I just don't see it. Like you and I played Gold Sabertooth, and he played it, but he didn't use it that way. And I think we stopped him every time he tried, so I didn't get to really see it do its thing.
Yeah.
And the moment I realized, like, all I have to do is steal Like I played it and I was like, wait, can I just steal that dude's mana dork right now? And like the light bulb went off in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like infinite. You just win. Like if Coercive Recruiter's in play and you have Jolly Balloon Man and there's one mana dork at the table, like you win the game. Like it doesn't matter if it's your mana dork or somebody else's. I mean, even if I just have a Mutavault, you know, I can turn it into a creature and then go for the line there and just keep targeting it. But like it's a powerhouse. That card, it's just like if you drop it, you win. Kind of like Rionia when you drop like any of those infinite attack creatures. You just it's like, oh, that's my 5 mana. I just win the game if somebody doesn't counter it.
Exactly.
And so let's get into my favorite tech of the whole game. This came up in my tournament that I just recently played in. It won me game 4 that I needed to win to go to the top 16.
Gotcha.
This nobody saw it coming. Nobody ever sees it coming. I'm letting out the biggest secret in Jolly Blue Man history. Karn, the Great Creator.
No!
Karn is a powerhouse. Not only is Karn gonna stop your opponents from like using their artifact. So sorry about your One Ring. Sorry about all your mana dorks or your mana rocks. Like, not only is it doing that, but the moment you drop this and you have, let's say, a Village Bellringer, you don't have your own mana dork. You're on Feldar Guardian or Village Bellringer or something. Oh, let's just go with Village Bellringer. So you have Village Bellringer and Karn. Guess what you can do with Village Bellringer and Karn and Jolly Balloon Man? Take Karn and turn your Basalt Monolith into a 3/3 creature. Cast Village Bellringer, untap your Basalt Monolith creature. Tap Basalt Monolith for 3 colorless. Float 2 of it, put it in the bank, use 1 of it to copy Village Bellringer. Now you go infinite off of a artifact creature. You can do it with Basalt Monolith, you can do it with, I mean, Arcane Signet, any of your mana dorks that are your Talisman of Conviction. It's a 2/2 creature now. Guess what? Village Bellringer untaps it. So now you have even another out with Village Bellringer. Like, that card is so important to the deck. Like, if you get Village Bellringer, you can combo with a ham sandwich. It's what I built the deck around, and it's what I love about this deck. It's just that tech that nobody sees coming. Nobody sees Karn turning a mana rock into a creature, so Village Bellringer can, like, that game. Like, everybody's like, yeah, you have Village Bellringer, but you don't have a mana dork. And I'm like, I activate Karn and turn my mana vault into a creature.
I copy Village card.
Yeah,
You're fucked.
And then I use Pot of Greed. I draw greed.
No.
Greed. No. Yeah, no, it's like the ultimate, like, super awesome win con. Like, nobody sees it coming. You turn anything that taps for mana into a creature, and then Village Bellringer untaps it, and you go infinite.
And this, once again, I gotta say it again, y'all. I'm trying not to scream right now. This Karn, I remember in, was it our Zergo and Archetype deck tech? I asked about Karn, the Great Creator, and even inside of the our last deck tech with K on the Pride of Holclade, the Karn, the Great Creator came in. They can't combo with Karn. Karn is just good.
No, Karn is a combo. So ask if anybody listening, just go hit up Celestial Winner on his and just be like, hey, can you tell us about Karn? I hope anybody that I just said this that heard this goes and does it, because there's been multiple games where I drop Karn on turn 2 and he just goes, oh man. Like, it literally knocks people out of the game. I won that game in the at the tournament because I dropped Karn on turn 2. The player in front of me literally went like Mox. He was like Mox. I think he had like land Mox. Then he had Sensei's Divining Top, and then he cast like another like Mox Opal. He had like Mox Diamond and Mox Opal or something, and like a land. And then like it went around the table, and I'm just sitting here staring at Karn. I'm like, oh my god, please nobody counter this. I like tap like Karn, and he's like, he just looks at me and is like, the entire life just drained from his body, because he literally had this glorious setup where he was going to be able to just like manipulate the top of his library. He had way more land than everybody. I guess we were tied in land. I had like I think I had like a mana vault turn 1, then turn 2 I just dropped the Karn. But it's like, what a crazy card that can just completely knock people out of games.
Man.
And in my deck, it's a combo piece. Like, that's the best part about it. Like, even if it was just a combo piece, that's awesome. But
The fact that it has that like asymmetric stacks piece on leaning on the thing that we use so much, which is artifact ramp, is it's ridiculous. And honestly, this brought up a really great question from somebody inside of the Twitch chat. He Newsom, shout out to Newsom, he's in the TC Discord community.
What's up, Newsom?
He has a question stating, does this deck not just fold to no rod effects? And of course, this coming from Karn, granted it is asymmetric. However, like, how does your deck navigate those no rod effects that for some other decks just say, oh, my deck is done if I can't use artifacts?
Oh yeah, no rod. No rod's rough. But at the end of the day, like, I don't need artifacts to combo off and win the game. Like, you can easily pivot. You can easily pivot with this deck. No rod does suck. Another one that I just got hit with for the first time was a freaking dress down. Since like they banned Nadu, like I haven't seen dress down in many games that I've played in. I mean, it might be out there. I honestly have not seen it in so long. I was going for my combo and I activated Jolly Blue Man to copy some. I think it was like Village Bellringer, and they were like, I respond before it copies like dress down, and I was like, oh. Like yeah, like, and I mean, I had enough in play where I was able to draw a bunch of cards and interact with it eventually. I think I was able to draw a bunch of cards and ended up getting rid of it to win, but like that is really rough. Like my whole, and anything like that stops ETBs too, that's gonna be rough for me. My deck is built around ETB effects. My deck is built around
creature activated abilities.
Yep.
And
yeah, and Dockside doesn't exist, so I can run out all my artifacts and not care, and it's nice. It's a nice. I mean, even though if I had Dockside in this deck, it would really pop off. But you know,
we actually
I'll take it.
No, 100%. We actually had another question come from Newsom that said, "What about Linvala effects that would seem that you need a ton of creature abilities, as in namely your commander and all the other things that when it comes to Linvala is like the one that says." Let me see if I can put it up quickly. It's 1L because TTC can spell it. We both have John and Linvala and just the OG Linvala Keeper of Silence that says activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. And so big question is how
big is Linvala? What is it?
It is a 3/4.
Ooh, that's spicy. So I mean it's tough to get around things like that if they have 3/4. I actually just came off Lightning Bolt. So, you know, I do have things like Touch the Spirit Realms. I have things like Abrade, Swords of Plowshare. I have a lot of creature removal. How much mana is Linvala? 4?
It is a 4-mana spell.
Yeah, guess what? Skyclave Apparition says no. So I play Skyclave Apparition. So and then just wait till they attack. I can't tell you how many people I've gotten in JO. I can never say it. EIGANO.
Oh, Iganjo.
Iganjo. Yeah, I'm just gonna call that card Ganja at this point. I can never pronounce it. But I can't tell you how many people will attack somebody just to like hit like the Adnos player with like something like that, and I'm just like Nganjo for 2 and just blow it up with like 4 damage. Like things like that, you know, I can easily do. Yeah, I mean, I have some interaction for stuff like that, but ideally, in an ideal world, I'd rather not see it. But you know, if it does come, I do have lots of things that Direfleet Daredevil can just steal whatever people have in their graveyard, and I can just keep doing that over and over again. So like,
100%.
Say they do have something that's annoying me like that, I can definitely just go grab it and
if I could also just add on like another combo that you recently say you added to the list, which kind of helps to kind of bolster against these type of Linvala effects that shut your deck down when it comes to activated abilities. Granted, it's an ETB, but it's the Duelcaster Mage combo.
Duelcaster Mage.
You know, it's just it's just like another combo. It's like, oh shit, I can't win with activated abilities. I can win with ETBs. And of course, if you're going against turbo stacks where they're shutting down everything down, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But then most decks want to remove those stack pieces, and so what I find is, if they're shutting down ETBs, somebody's gonna want to win with DOSes, and so somebody remove it. But thank you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I can do is I can also just sit and wait. If there's everybody else at the table is going to be annoyed with that card, so you just got to wait patiently for somebody else to remove it, right? Like
exactly.
people can't win off their Thassa, or like can't get to a Thassa if they're not going through their whole deck with like a whatever card they're playing, Kinnin or Thassa or I keep saying Thassa, but
no, like I think activated abilities are really prominent right now, especially with Thrasios being a lot more popular now since Green has had like a slight boom since Dockside got banned, and you brought up a great one, Kinnin. People are still playing Kinrith, the Return King, and like I'm playing Scion right now. Like granted, I don't need my commander to win, but it's convenient because I can use it to find my outlet for infinite mana. Like there's so many things that use activated abilities, and like somebody's gonna want to remove it before they push. And then if you're patient, you can say, okay, I'm gonna hold my interaction not to remove the stacks piece, but to stop the player after they remove the stacks piece, and then after that, I'm gonna fucking win. So no, like that is one thing that I'm noticing. Like every time, once again, thank you Newsom for these amazing questions. When he brought up the no rod effects where it says no more artifacts, where it brings up the Limvala effects where it says no more activated abilities, like one shuts off a lot of like the Grim Monolith for Basalt or LED combos or Astronaut's Altar stuff, and the other side shuts off our commander itself. But it's just like it kind of, or like for example, shuts off RX Salvagers, and it's just this thing of like, but we can still win though, you know. And like I find in my personal games a lot of times that I just have this unset endurance for long games. I love them because like I like to build my list to always have an out. Like there is a way to win the fucking game, whether it's removing the stacks piece or just winning through the stacks piece. And I could just feel that energy from this deck where there's like, B doesn't ever have to say, oh, well, I can't win the game. Like no, there's always another win con that he can use.
Does Limvala say opponents? Is it also only opponents?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
opponents.
guess what? Coercive Recruiter says, "Give me that. Give me that."
We just
ETP
got
Coercive Recruiter. Steal it. Now I start activating Jolly Balloon Man. Go into my lines and go for the win.
Yes, 100%. So like, yeah, I love the resistance that like just the community can bring to this list, and I also love that he's like the responses. We'll just win another way. It's okay.
We'll try a different one.
We'll try a different win con. I love that, and I just want to ask, like, is there any other win cons that you want to touch on before we move on, brother?
I feel like that was enough, right? I don't know if there's any other ones. I mean, you could. No, I took since I took Lightning Bolt out. There was the.
Pinnacle
I used to be able to do Pinnacle Monk activations infinitely to then Lightning Bolt the table. But once I added Charming Scoundrel, I figured that that's not needed as much.
Yeah, especially since like the reason for the Charming Scoundrel inclusion is to navigate the One Ring, and you can't hit the person with a lightning bolt if they have the One Ring protection either way.
That's true.
Yeah, so no, that's a very good point. And so I want to move on to our tutor package, but before we do, I just had one thing to say to the audience. If you're enjoying this deck tech and you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Please starting off with our TC community. Y'all, please check that community out. It is on Discord and it's free to join. We jam games. We have a good time brewing, and we talked just general Magic talk about recently. Like there's been a lot of tournaments going on in people's locals and around the country, around the world actually. And I just love to see every time a TC community member just shows up and shows out those tournaments. So just big flowers. We actually just had someone say they got 4th place at their locals tournament, and that stuff just eggs me on. I love that. If you want to experience those perks and just a little bit more, please check out also our Thunder Legion Patreon community where you can play on our live streams, shouts in our YouTube videos and streams, and also free proxies and discount codes. I've already said it, but huge shout out to Wavy Share, Bissy Backs and the Praetor, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. They keep the lights on the way they could not imagine, and they keep this community growing and allow me to do what I do. And last but not least, if you're looking for ways just to say, hey, that's not really what I want to do, but is there another way I can support? Don't worry, check out the link in the bio to buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps me on. But come on, B. Like, we've talked about how we win, but we got to get to the win, okay? So talk to me about our tutor package, brother. Come on, man.
Yes. So tutor package is what you'd, I think, assume in white and red is not, there's not a lot. There's only so much we can do, right? So I'm obviously on Enlightened Tutor. This gets you One Ring if you're trying to get card draw. I will say with this deck, card draw is king. If you can start getting your card draw going, then that's where you're really going to start showing out. The other important thing it can get is Pyre of Heroes. Pyre, pray of Heroes.
You got it. Pyre.
Pyre of Heroes. We're gonna get into that card in a minute, but that card is something that I really tuned the deck to be around. That was a suggestion that somebody had in the Jolly Blue Man Discord that I created. And if you are interested in that deck, I have an entire Discord dedicated to it where we just talk about Jolly Blue Man nonstop. So
check the link
if
out
you
in
go
the
to
bio.
yeah, check out the link. And so Unlightened Tutors usually getting me a Soul Ring. It's getting me Pyre of Heroes. It's getting me the One Ring. Those are the normal things it can get me. Sometimes if it's later game, I'll grab Ashnod's or Staff of Domination, but usually I'm just trying to find early quick ramp or more of a search engine like Pyre of Heroes or card draw. So next we have Gamble. I mean, pretty much staple in red. I don't mind it too much. If it pitches like an artifact, I can get artifacts back easy. If it pitches the card I search for, a lot of times it sucks, but it is what it is. That's what you're on when you're running Gamble. Like you gotta go for it. And I'm a player that'll just go for it if I got 2 cards in my hand. I don't care if I just whatever, right? So
Fuck it,
just go.
Fucking
It's just go. Yeah, fucking we ball. The important ones I will say, like those are great. 1-drop. I mean, obviously they're what they are for a reason. But Goblin Engineer is a huge tutor piece. What I don't think people realize is, yes, I run 8 tutors. Wah, you can only have 8 tutors. But you're not thinking about the potential with my commander. Let's talk about Goblin Engineer. ETB, search for an artifact. Put it into my bin. Oh, I already have Jolly Balloon Man out at this point. Activate Jolly Balloon Man. Get another copy of Goblin Engineer, but this one has haste. Go get another artifact and throw it in my bin. Then I use a red to activate the hasted copy of Goblin Engineer, sack an artifact that I'm not using, like a tapped Basalt Monolith, a tapped Mana Vault, a tapped, whatever it is, and then I throw Pyre of Heroes into play, or I throw, maybe I have a Basalt Monolith into play and I get rid of my Mana Vault that was tapped that I couldn't use, and now all of a sudden I have a Basalt Monolith. For 1 red I have 3 mana, or for 3 mana I have 3 mana that now I can use in this turn to do more stuff that I may be trying to do. So its utility is nuts, and the ability to cast Goblin Engineer and then use it immediately, because you normally can't by making a copy of it and giving it haste, is huge. Like I've played games where I throw a Pyre of Heroes in my bin, make the copy, throw another card in my bin, sack it, get Pyre of Heroes into play, use 2 mana to immediately sack the copy of Goblin Engineer, or sack something else. You can sack a Goblin Engineer to go get a Sticker Goblin. So that's why I have step-ups of the goblins. I have 3 goblins in my deck, and everyone steps up off of Pyre of Heroes to get the next one. So I can go ahead and go, oh, I want a 1-drop goblin. Now I can go take that to a Goblin Engineer, and I can take Goblin Engineer and go get Sticker Goblin. So really cool utility, and it really makes a huge difference throughout the game. If nobody gets rid of it and Jolly Blue Man sticks around, I can just keep copying it and keep throwing artifacts in the bin that are going to help me win the game.
I definitely hear you there. And like, I'm pretty sure you said this, but notably, like, in addition to the hastiness of it, you're really a genius by running Goblin Welder as well. So if you you don't even need this have haste. It's just like, if you decide to put larger artifacts into the bin, because, as we all see, Goblin Engineer says put any artifact into the graveyard. It's not limited by 3. You can only pull 3 out. And so because you're on that welder too. So I love how, like, you're not limited by haste or summoning sickness, and you're also not limited by size depending on the other creatures that you have available to you. So I gotta say, I love this. I love what I'm hearing, brother. Keep going.
Yeah, and then so next, standard Imperial Recruiter, that card is great. On top of it, it's really good in this deck. It gets me Village Bellringer, which is the card I want to get most in the deck. So anytime I get Imperial Recruiter, I'm trying to go get Village Bellringer immediately. It's almost always that card. Or if it's not, I'll go get Sticker Goblin. I'll cast Sticker Goblin. I'll get a bunch of extra mana. Then I'll use that extra mana to tap my Jolly Balloon Man to copy Imperial Recruiter, have a bunch of extra mana, and then I'll be able to cast Village Bellringer, untap Jolly Balloon Man, and like go into a win line. So that's also something you can do. But but mainly if I have Imperial Recruiter, I'm just going for. You can also go for Duelcaster Mage. Say you have a Molten Duplication in your hand, you immediately just grab Duelcaster Mage, make 5 mana, and win. But I mean, Imperial Recruiter basically gets me any win con I want. It can get me Flame Scroll Celebrant. Say somebody's trying to win the game on their next turn, I'll just go get Flame Scroll Celebrant and hit somebody with a Revel in Silence, because
yes, tell them.
It's like, oh, I can just go for my win line. Oh, maybe I want to go for my win line. Copy Imperial Recruiter, go get Revel in Silence. Now I have a silence effect before I cast a Village Bellringer. Make somebody answer before, like, there's so many things you can do with Imperial Recruiter and the ability to copy it that just make it like nuts in this deck. I can go get Grand Abolisher. Like, all the cards are 2-drops. Like, anything's mostly under 2. The only thing I think I can't get off of the Imperial Recruiter, I honestly think is the only card is Aurochs. No, I can even get Aurochs Salvager. There's not, okay. The only cards I cannot
you brought
get,
this up Zerda, but yeah, like
Zerda or Coercive Recruiter are the only cards I cannot get off that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that card just, I mean, it wins me games. If I get it and I can keep copying it and nobody gets rid of it, it's nuts. But let's get to one of the stars of this deck, the Pyre of Heroes. This card, the way I built this deck, is so good. There is so much utility in this tutor. It is ridiculous. We're talking Goblin Welder into Goblin Engineer into Sticker Goblin if you need to go explosive mana. We are talking about Stoneforge Mystic. What? I thought that's a core Artificer. Yeah, you have a Stoneforge Mystic in play. I go get my equipment that I need. Guess what? I'm gonna sack it immediately after I get that equipment and go get Skyclave Apparition, sneak it into the battlefield without anybody knowing, and exile something under 4 mana, any permanent. So like, it makes Stoneforge Mystic so much better because they're both core. Like, it literally gives me a free Skyclave Apparition search, which is huge. And then, not to mention, the entire rest of my deck is all human. So we're gonna kind of go through them real quick, but the only other one is Archivist Ogma. Can't go get anything because it's a halfling cleric. Unfortunately, they should have just made it human.
I mean, call me a spade. Well, like, but when I was using Pyre of Heroes, honestly, I didn't tell people this, but if I drop Pyre of Heroes, I'm winning the game. I'm not trying to get an Archivist either way. You know, I'm trying to win the game.
Well, I mean, like, sacking it to get to like Village Bellringer would be nice. But basically, a majority of my creatures are 2-drop humans, because I want to sack them in order to get to my Village Bellringer line. So the humans here, Sarah Ascendant, I play it as a because I can sack it to go get a 2-drop, which, say I go get like a Direfleet Daredevil or a Charming Scoundrel, then I can sack one of those to now go get Village Bellringer on my next turn to try to win. I actually added Drannith Magistrate. I have not been a huge Drannith Magistrate fan for this deck, but I wanted more creatures that are able to go fetch Village Bellringer. So I ended up putting Drannith Magistrate in this deck because it's a Stax piece, but it's more so than that. It's a human, which is also going to let me go ahead and sack it to go get what I need in that moment. And it's probably like the perfect thing to sack. Like, if you're trying to win right there, like, who gives a shit if you have Drannith Magistrate at that point?
And if I can just lean on this, I've actually had a similar feeling about Drannith Magistrate. I think it's, in my opinion, bold claim, I'm just gonna be honest, I think it's the best Stax piece in cEDH, period. I think it is. Like, it's not saying it's other Stax pieces sucks. It's just it stops the best win con, which is Breach. It shuts you off casting your commander. Reach. Yeah, it stops Reach. It stops your commander. It stops casting from exile. It stops casting from the graveyard. Like, it stops so many good things. And in addition, outside of stopping your opponent, it's not really doing anything. And when you're trying to have your cards, like in this list, what I'm feeling, you want the cards to be able to, each card to push you towards a win, which is like, B knows this, when I play against him in this deck, I'm hyper focused on him, not because like he's doing too much. I'm always hyper focused on this deck because every card is getting him closer to win. It's like when a Ristic Study comes out, like, oh, okay, they'll draw a bunch of cards, but they don't have the win yet. When he drops something, you're like, okay, did he win and we didn't know yet? You know what I'm saying? That type of situation. And the point I'm trying to make is I love the inclusion of Drannith Magistrate, not just because the best stacks piece in our format. I think it's even better now because you said I didn't add it because I'm trying to stop people. I added it because it has the extra utility of featuring this slight creature kindred vibe to leverage the Pyre of Heroes. So I just wanted to give you your flowers there. I love your intent and the reasoning behind why you did this and how you were patient upon including the stacks piece. And then it just helps that that's the best stacks piece in the game.
Like, yeah, it's great. I really didn't like it in this deck specifically because I didn't want any card besides like Grand Abolisher and like Grand Abolisher specifically, but like I didn't want any card to not have copy ability. Like I wanted everything to be able to be copied and that to be for a purpose. Like even Professional Facebreaker in this deck, it's like, what a great card. Like if I copy it, holy shit, like I instantly get 4 treasures. Like and if I can swing with 1 more creature, then I can get 6 treasures. Like that's huge. But like Drannith, like you copy it, it doesn't do anything. You just had a 1/1. And there was a lot of games I would literally just have Jolly Balloon Man and a Drannith Magistrate, and I'd be like, where are my other creatures? Like that's not what I want. And you're just sitting there like waiting to draw the next creature, and you're like, mana ramp, like other thing, and you're like, no, I just need a Drannith to be something else right now. But I'm back on it. It can be sacked. It can go fetch. It can go do a lot of things. Even like Flame Scroll Celebrant. If I'm not gonna try to like stop somebody for like a silence effect, like playing a Flame Scroll Celebrant, sacking it to go get Village Bellringer once again is a great play. Like that's never the wrong play.
And I want to ask this popped to my head because we kept bringing up Rionia. Just certain texts are coming to my head with the Professional Facebreaker, and notably you're on the Charming Scoundrel now. Are you able to do the infinite treasures and then basically impulsive draw your deck if you want to using Professional Facebreaker, having that extra utility? Or I can't think of the line specifically in my head, but if you can make infinite rolls, is that something you can do where you ever see being useful, or you just said, nah, I'm gonna just go?
I mean, if you can make infinite treasures, then you probably just make infinite wicked roll tokens at that point, right?
Got you. You never really need the extra draw from the Professional Facebreaker per se.
I mean, you could if you. I mean, what's really cool, Professional Facebreaker turns into a huge card advantage. I don't have it in my draw section because technically it's not a draw, but it should definitely be there because I can't tell you how many times I'll make like 4 treasures and end up just like exiling 3 of them to like dig. Because in this deck, if you're not, you either have like 10 cards in hand or you have like 2. So being able to dig is like a big part of this, and I think Professional Facebreaker is a huge part in that, like digging for the next thing in card draw.
Okay, 100%. I agree with that. Keep going, brother. We talking on Pyre of Hero lines. Keep talking to me, brother.
Yeah, and so all right, now my favorite thing that this has opened up, which has been great, and I've gotten to do it now like twice, is Jolly Balloon Man is a 3-drop. So my commander, I'm guaranteed to have a 3-drop. What's really awesome is if I at any point draw a Lion's Eye Diamond, or say I draw a Lion's Eye Diamond and I don't have Auriok Steel Shaper yet, Salvager, I can sack Jolly Balloon Man to sneak in Auriok Salvager to then just go for a Lion's Eye Diamond infinite mana line out of nowhere. And then on top of that, while I do that, I now can just cast Jolly Balloon Man while I have infinite mana, and then make infinite Auriok like you can just like make infinite, Auriok Salvagers or whatever. Once you have the infinite mana, the sky's the limit. Yes. But I mean, it's just great. Like the fact that I can get that, I can sack Jolly Balloon Man and say somebody has an enchantment that's like really shutting me down. I can go get Witch's Enchanter. That's a human warlock. So like I can sack Jolly Balloon Man, who's only 3 mana. And people love Kiki-Jiki, who's 5 mana. So like when I kill Jolly Balloon Man and cast it for the second time, that's literally just casting Kiki for the first time, which is why I love this deck, because even if you kill my commander, it's just 5 mana for the next one, right? Like, and if Kiki's good enough for 5 mana, I think Jolly Balloon Man is perfectly acceptable at 5 mana. So like,
exactly,
it doesn't hurt me to sack. I sack Jolly Balloon Man all the time to flare duplication things like Ad Naus or Counterspell or whatever it is. Like, I only have 1 free interaction in this entire deck, and it's flare duplication, which is why I can run Stax pieces that, Vexing Bauble, that keeps me off of like free spells.
Right, 100%. Yeah, not like I love that energy of it because I didn't even think about it like that. Like, first of all, 5 mana is not the end of the world. Like I brought up, I'm gonna keep bringing it up. Ryonya Fire Dancer starts at 5 mana, and so like half the game plan for Ryonya is politicking people not to remove your Ryonya board. But
Yeah.
you're right, when you're starting at 3 mana and then everyone wants to say, well, why don't you just play Kiki-Jiki? Well, because I am fine with the first removal of my commander. Like, we get to turn 2, turn 3, everybody has the developed board state, someone just pops off a toxic deluge, like, oh, okay, well, like, it sucked, but I'll cast him again. It's not the end of the world. I don't have to think about where do I get 7 mana. I think about where do I just get 5. That's all I need. And so I love that.
And I think that's an important thing to actually talk about. So a lot of people that are on Jolly Blue Man are on Kiki-Jiki lines. And I really want to just get my point across why I'm not on them.
Gotcha.
I am not on Kiki-Jiki because all the Kiki-Jiki combos that don't include the ones that I have included here only combo with Kiki-Jiki. If I ever don't have Kiki-Jiki and I have a line like Combat Celebrant?
Yeah,
which
Combat Celebrant.
Yeah, you never get a chance because it's sorcery speed with Jolly Blue Man. You literally only get like 2 combats and then you're done.
Right.
If you don't have Kiki-Jiki. I never want a dead card in my hand, and to me that's a dead card. I just took out FOMO. FOMO is like an all-star in this deck. I really liked it, but there was no reason for me to have that when I could just be on Charming Scoundrel instead. It's a human. It has more advantage than FOMO I can do a treasure, or I can draw a card, discard a card if I want to do the FOMO thing, or I can do the Wicked Roll, kill people with One Ring on. So like, it just made more sense to be on Charming Scoundrel, so I made that swap because of Pyre of Heroes. And like even FOMO, there's no in between. Like you can't activate Jolly Blue Man in between. So like I always found Jolly Blue Man is good as it is, and like I love, nothing wrong with Kiki-Jiki. I love that card, but if I have Kiki-Jiki in my hand and I have Jolly Blue Man already in play, like, why would I cast Kiki-Jiki when I already have other lines I could do, like copying certain things to get more value instead of like casting a Kiki, then like copying something, and then like having to wait a whole turn go around, and then like try to put together a win like from there, when I just have all mine banked around Jolly Blue Man or not at all even needing Jolly Blue Man.
And even like I love what you brought up earlier with the inclusion now of Pyre of Heroes. You have you have a really cool effect where now you can push your Jolly Balloon Man into, for example, your Ariok Salvagers line.
Yes.
I love that notably because I'm going to pat myself in the back. Part of the Ryonya community, what I decided to do, where I added Go to Bandit Warlord to the list, where if I have Ryonya on the board and I had Pyre of Heroes out, I just sack my 5 mana human and to put a Godo, and then that's the Godo ETBs, and like I will go straight into the Home of the Host, and that's basically 5 + 2, which is 7 mana. If I already have Ryonya out on board, that's game, And I loved that combo because it was not like where people always, they said a similar thing to us as well, like, why aren't y'all playing Kiki? Because you're already on Combat Celebrant. Some people were on the Coercive Recruiter and all these other things, and we experienced a similar thing where like it's not a bad card, it's just a dead card a lot of times. And arguments can be made with Godo as well and all these other things, but I think what I've experienced is a similar effect of with the addition of Pyre of Heroes. Unless it's like a Pyre of Heroes line, and just it makes sense like that, I'm not really tripping. Now, if Jolly Blue Man was 4 mana and Kiki-Jiki was also a human, or you could squeeze it, maybe we can have a conversation. But then it still does exactly what your commander does, and it just, I think the point I'm trying to make is really, I agree with where you're coming from, and it's a very fair point. I don't think you ever said the card sucks or is bad. It's just said like it's a dead card in hand. And what we keep finding every time Brad is like talking about his lines, it's like, every card is multifaceted. Every card does multiple things. The win lines are also just value pieces of just like even his Felidar Guardian, just flickering his Grim Monolith or his Basalt Monolith or any of the layer pieces that he runs. And so I definitely hear what you're saying. I think you're making really good points. And so please keep going. I hope I didn't stop your flow, brother.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, I appreciate you calling us out. Like the other thing that I really love, like Pyre of Heroes, is like I don't know if many people even know this, but Esper Sentinel is a human. I know he don't look like it, but that's an artifact human.
No, you don't look
so,
like it.
so late game, Esper Sentinel, Sarah Ascendant, which also I don't think you'd see as a human. You'd be like, that's probably an angel or something, right? Like those are two 1-drop humans. If I have those in play like early or late game, I can Prior of Heroes for Grand Abolisher. Yeah, Grand Abolisher. And I can immediately like and if people don't like see that line, I'm like, I sack it to go search for a 2-drop. Everybody's like, oh, what could he get here? Like, and then like, yeah, and nobody responds. All of a sudden, I have a Grand Abolisher in play, and you can't even respond at that point. Like, oh wait, no, wait, never mind. Like, I don't. Oh wait, you know. Then I'm just like, oh, going for win. Like, surprise, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and he, you know, I was just saying, even by the point that you activate it, unless they have an Aven Mind Sensor, opposition agent, or a stifle effect, what are they going to do? like okay,
kill Jolly Balloon Man, or maybe
like okay, we move your commander. Like we've already talked about the layering of ramp that you have for this list, and we'll get more to ramp in a second. But yeah, but like, I love the layering. Keep going, brother, please.
Yeah, and then there's just so many, everything's a human. So like, even once I get to like 3 drops, I can sack them to go get like Witch's Enchanter, which is really powerful in this deck, and things like that. So I mean, the card's just a powerhouse. It literally lets me search for whatever I want, and I love that about Prior of Heroes. The next card I'll talk about is Recruiter of the Guard. Not as good as Imperial Recruiter, honestly. I like sometimes I'll use Recruiter of the Guard just to go get Imperial Recruiter. Like that happens a lot. But it's still a great card. It gets Pinnacle Monk. It literally gets anything I need. Like I've gotten Direfleet Daredevil off of it, like because somebody had like a Psych Rift in graveyard, and I overloaded a Psych Rift out of somebody else's graveyard or something like that. Like there's just so many things you can do with like Direfleet Daredevil in this deck, especially with the copy ability of being able to copy them and just keep exiling things and keep things going. But Imperial Recruiter Guard is okay. It gets everything but like your most important win lines. Like it doesn't get Village Bellringer, doesn't get Zidara, doesn't get Coercive Recruiter. Like those would be great if it could, but it also doesn't get Oryx Salvagers. So it's a little niche moment. But I'll tell you, a lot of times I'll go get Witch's Enchanter just because I need a land, or I'll get Pinnacle Monk just because I need a land. It's literally like land ramp. Like when I miss a land drop, I'll drop Recruiter and just go get one of those and play him as a land and be super happy about it. So 100%. That's something really cool about Recruiter. Stoneforge Mystic. Typical Stoneforge Mystic package. I will say, anytime I drop a Stoneforge Mystic, I have 3 equipment in this whole deck. I will most likely have all 3 of those equipment in my hand by the end of that game, because I'll just keep. Oh, what's really fun about Stoneforge Mystic is you can search for like a Skull Clamp. You can search for whatever. Copy Stoneforge Mystic. It happens a lot. Like I'll get Stoneforge Mystic down turn 1 or 2. Search for like a Skull Clamp. That's like my MVP card draw in this deck. Then from there, like turn 2, I'll drop like Jolly Balloon Man. I probably at that point won't have enough mana to copy it, but say I do, then I can literally copy Stoneforge Mystic, search for another equipment. When that comes into play, it has haste. And then like I can use the 2 mana to activate the hasted Stoneforge Mystic to cheat in like a Skull Clamp, to then equip the Skull Clamp to the 1/1 balloon copy of Stoneforge Mystic to then draw 2 cards. So it's like these super weird lines you can do with Jolly Balloon Man by copying and grabbing like equipment, and then grabbing another equipment, and then using abilities at haste speed, like the moment you play like a different creature that has an activated ability that you can't usually activate, which makes Jolly Balloon Man really fun.
Definitely hear you there, brother. Keep going.
So the next one would be Urza Saga, which usually gets a Skull Clamp or it's usually, honestly, it's either Skull Clamp or Soul Ring. But that's pretty much what most people get with it. Sometimes I'll get a 0-drop if I need a certain color, and I have it. But Vexing Bauble is never a bad idea, depending on who you're playing against. But no, most of the time it's usually like a Soul Ring, so I get some more mana. But that's really my tutor package. Like I said, it's not a lot, but I have a ton of ways to get Prior of Heroes into the graveyard or things like that, like off a Goblin Engineer, or different ways. Like if it's in my graveyard, I can Goblin Engineer it back into, or Goblin Welder it back into play by sacking something else, or there's just tons of things you can do.
100%. I love your tutor package. I have to really do say it's like it gives me nostalgia of like that Rionia package where it's like real lean, but when you can clone it, it's not like a demonic tutor where I use this and that's it, and I gotta have breach out to use it again. Like no, it's like I use it and then I use it and then I use it again and then
I've had games where I've like I've Imperial Recruiter like 5 times because it was such a stacksy long game that I'm just like, oh, just go get another creature, play it, another creature, play it, and you're just like, all right, like let's just keep doing this, I guess.
We'll figure something out eventually. We'll put something together.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now I love your tutor package, and now we know how we get towards our win, but we also have to have some card draw. So can you talk to me about your card draw and card advantage package?
Yeah, I will say this is something in this deck that I think really goes like unrespected, is the amount of card draw this deck can have. It's obviously it's white, it's Boros, right? So I'm not over here in blue, I can't draw a million cards, but like I said, when I either have 10 cards in my hand or I have 2, like that's this deck. So starting off, like let's just talk about Archivist of Ogma. Great 2-drop. I can usually get it down turn 1. It has flash. These are things that I'm looking for when I'm mulliganing, like any kind of card draw early, or like Archivist of Ogma is just a great card to have in your opening hand. Game 1 life, draw a card. It's 2/2. Love that card. Nothing too crazy. Don't ever tutor for it, but if I got it, I'm happy. The next one would be Charming Scoundrel. This card is really fun in this deck because of the ability to copy it. Draw a card, discard a card is super huge. Like I said, a lot of times I'll just have no cards in hand. I'll have activated an LED, have no cards in hand, and went for a win and somebody stopped me, and all of a sudden I'll just start copying Charming Scoundrel. I'll draw a card, play it, activate to copy Charming Scoundrel, to discard 0 cards and draw a card, just to keep kind of going, which is nice. So that card has a lot of utility, and it's also just throw artifacts in the bin. I can't tell you how many times in my opening hand I'll have like a Umbral Mantle, or even like Basalt Monolith sometimes, or like any of these like artifacts that can win me the game, like Ashnod's Altar. Like, so I'll often like pitch those early because maybe I have something else in my hand, like a Goblin Welder that I know I'll be already have dropped, or I'll have something else that'll be coming down that I can like recur them. So, or if I have like Breach in my hand, it's really easy just to discard artifacts in the bin and knowing I'll get them back. So that card is just super powerful in this deck. And then Esper Sentinel is Esper Sentinel. It's a human. It can tutor me up to a 2-drop human, as well as just draw me 3 cards before my next turn, which is pretty awesome. You know, like Skull Clamp is the MVP card draw in this deck. It gives +1/-1. The -1 is huge because all the balloons I create are 1/1 balloons. Unlike Kiki-Jiki makes an exact copy. So, you know, while some people would look at, oh, but they're 1/1s, yuck, like that's gross. Like, why would I, like, what are you gonna do? Hit somebody with a 1/1 balloon? Yes. two, yeah, I'll sack it to Skull Clamp and draw 2 cards after I hit you for 1. So card's just great. I mean, I can't tell how many times I've late gamed, just like didn't have infinite mana, but I had like a Staff of Domination in play, and I was able to like activate Jolly Blue Man like twice to make like 2 tokens, and sometimes it's like Sticker Goblin, and you're like Sticker Goblin. I like jump to like 8 mana or something, use like 2 of the mana to make copies or whatever, and then it's like Skull Clamp, draw 4, and then I still have like 5 mana left over, and I'm like, okay, what can I do here? Nothing yet. Use 4 mana again to untap Jolly Blue Man and make another copy of the you know, Sticker Goblin, and then like at that point I'm like hitting like 3 red or whatever, because the sticker sheet, oh no, as long as I'm killing them, the sticker sheets go back. So like if I can do that, like Skull Clamp can be an outlet for me to go like infinite draw, with Sticker Goblin especially, because once you kill it, because it's a token, a normal Sticker Goblin, if it hits the graveyard, it remains the sticker sheets on it. So you like, say you put a 5 sticker sheet on your main goblin that you cast. With this deck, I usually do the lowest one for the first cast, because every time I make a token copy, those will come in with the 5s or the 6s,
Yeah.
and then I'm trying to keep the lower ones on the first one because that sticks to that creature forever. But because it's a token and it hits the graveyard, it ceases to exist. Those sticker sheets go back on the sticker sheets.
Yes.
So Sticker Goblin in this deck specifically is really good because you have a lot of sack outlets, Ashnod's Altar, things like that, where you can get rid of your tokens to put the sticker sheets back. And then if I have something like Staff of Domination, I can literally go infinite with a Sticker Goblin and a Skull Clamp just because I can keep killing them, or an Ashnod's Altar. I didn't have those in my win cons because it's not like something I shoot for, but when it comes up, you can win that way. So
no, I definitely feel that. Yeah, 100%. No, keep going, brother. You in the flow state.
Yeah. So another one is Staff of Domination. This card, I mean, I've talked about a lot, but basically its ability to either draw cards or untap is what you're looking at, and then the untap Staff of Domination is also big. So it really allows a lot of infinite stuff. But the big one is with like mana echoes in play. I can't tell you how many times like I'll just have a bunch of generic extra mana left over on like other people's turn because they like cast stuff that is the same as mine,
right? And
I'll just be like, oh, I have like 5 mana. I guess I'll just draw a card, or I guess I'll just tap your creature down. But like, Staff of Domination doesn't usually come up as a card draw engine, but I will say in games, if I'm using it as a card draw, like each turn, then I'm in a bad spot, and you'll know I'm in a bad spot because I'll just keep activating it with my mana to like draw. But it's there. It's available. If you make infinite mana, you draw your deck. So why not? Sunbaked Canyon is actually a new
ad. Can I actually ask a question real quick? I actually wanted to know how you felt about the counterpart of this card, Staff of Completion.
Yeah, you told me about Staff of Completion because it's pay life instead, right?
Right, and I haven't seen any cards that really need you to use your life total, so I wanted to see how you felt about this card.
I guess I'd have to look at it. I looked at it a little bit, but I didn't like that it did. What happens if I click on that? Where you go?
So it is.
So it's pay 1, destroy a permanent you own. That's weird. Pay 2, add 1 mana of any color. Pay 3, proliferate. Pay 4, life, draw a card. 5 mana, untap Staff of Completion.
Right. So
I guess with this, the problem would be it doesn't untap. So I guess that's probably why I wasn't too sold on it.
So I'll say it technically does untap for mana with no life. With the 5 mana, you could pay 5, untap Staff of Completion. I'll say this: I originally felt hesitations for it in my experience because I was like, I don't know if I want, like, you know my place. I don't like really using my life total as a resource because I'm a patient player. With that being said, though, I eventually saw it in the Godo Bandit Warlord list, and I just gave it a go. And in actual practice, it was fantastic. And like you're using your life total, but in an archetype of deck where one card draw can be the difference between like I have my combo piece and I don't, especially in like red, mono red, or like red white. I found that it's really phenomenal, and just keeping to hear of the synergies with your notable with your piece Mana Echoes. This is one where, okay, maybe you won't draw 20 cards off this if someone just keeps flickering their human, but it is a piece where it's like, hey, it's turn 2, turn 3. I got this down, and I got my Mana Echoes down.
Start drawing off of it.
Just start drawing off of it. In the worst universe, you have a line would say like, all right, in the worst universe, it's a mana rock, 3 mana rock for 2 life. And in the best universe, I'm paying 4 life to draw a card, and I never have to make a decision right now. And notably, the destroy target permanent you own is really cool because you are in that position where, say, if they do try to Gilded Drake, or there is something that goes on where there's an exchange effect or a taking effect, you can always destroy that target permanent you own. So, and biggest one to just have that untap effect. So
that's true, because I can also kill like a copy of Sticker Goblin token or something like that if I needed. Like another 5 mana instead of like 4 off Sticker Goblin,
and to no mana to that effect too. So I love it personally, especially when like I haven't found a deck that I love treble and pairs in. I think this may be the one that treble pairs is great.
But I was just gonna get to that. And
but I was gonna ask about like, does this feel like it's worth inclusion, or just maybe something that needs to just kind of marinate more in the mind?
Maybe I put it in my sideboard. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll try it out and see what I would take out. But it does seem interesting. The card draw for 3 life to draw a card, or 4 life draw a card?
Yeah, pay 4 draw
4 life.
And And that notably, that pay 3 and proliferate is a cool effect if you want to. We had Fat Loot said also proliferate. You can proliferate other people's one ring or your own run ring, and you can uptick their fish to make them have to pay more mana to keep the fish around and kind of mess their math up for their turn.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and it's a little.
That's
I
cool.
can't even call it fringe because everyone plays the one ring. Well, most decks play the one ring, and all blue decks play the fish. But
yeah, I don't know if you want to be giving people extra draws.
Not extra draws, but like like.
Yeah, if it's their upkeep and they're at 1 life, I think that's the only time I'd be like, proliferate.
You falling for my trap.
My trap card.
So
it's a trap.
So it's a trap. So yeah, like the card that I love in practice, but I wanted to hear more about your card draw package, and not to force that one on you, but I definitely did. Just it came to mind. I was like, oh shit, I think it may fit, but just keep going, brother. We're on the card draw package.
So next, I just added Sunbaked Canyon. I removed I think the land exotic orchard. I think so for Sunbaked Canyon. There's too many times that I end up getting like overwhelmed with land sometimes, where I'm just like, oh, I have so much land and I don't need, like, this whole deck was built to just run off of like 3 land, and that's like really all you need. Like 4 land is fine, like 4 mana, 3 mana, like you can just do your thing because all you're really doing is just copying for 1 mana, and then it lets you explode to do more stuff. So I was like, Sunbaked Canyon would be a perfect card in here, so I added it just for the sack it to draw a card when you need to. Just because I felt like 9 draw effects were like, I just wanted 1 more, and it being a land that pays 1 life, like I don't use my life total, so it's perfect card.
Such an easy grab. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, easy grab. Yeah. The One Ring, everybody plays it. It's great in this deck. There's nothing cute that I can do in this deck with the One Ring that I can do in other decks that I play, but itself is just such a good card. There's one thing that I could do. I haven't gotten to do it yet, but I've always wanted to do it. Is you can use Karn to turn the One Ring into a creature, and then you can use Staff to like untap it because it's a creature now. So then you can just like, if you get infinite mana, you can just draw your deck. But I mean, if you have Staff, you can already draw your deck. But say you have Umbral Mantle, you can put it on the One Ring for 3 mana. You can untap it. So I mean, I haven't done it yet, but it's always in the thought of my mind that how cool would it be to turn the One Ring into a creature and then just draw a bunch of cards off of it and use the untap abilities that I have for creatures, or like Village Bellringer while I'm doing a Village Bellringer line, also drawing my deck.
You're right.
Just like, it would be so cool, but I have yet to do it, but one day.
100. I like that synergy a lot. Keep going, brother.
Trouble in Pairs is very epic in this deck. I will say the games that I land Trouble in Pairs, I will have 10 cards in my hand, like the whole game. It's awesome. This card has won me games. It's also stopped people. There was one game I played where I ended up winning, and I got like Trouble in Pairs down like turn 2, and this guy was like, I literally had infinite turns on like turn 3, and you played Trouble in Pairs, and I couldn't go for it. And like the whole game, I just sat there staring at it, and I couldn't go for it. And I was like, I didn't even put it in here to stop extra turns. Like that was the last thing. It's literally in here for people tag me with 2 creatures. Barely ever happens, but I'll draw a card. But the most important thing is when people draw 2 cards, you draw a card. And whenever somebody casts their second spell, you draw a card. I can't tell you how many times people get in counter battles where I'll draw like 2 cards, and then during those counter battles somebody has a Ristic, and then I draw another card, and then somebody like tries to draw 2 cards while everything's going on, and I'm just like, oh, I'll just keep drawing cards, and then I can jump in with interaction, or whatever need be. But this card is just very good in this deck, and it's really easy to cast. Then Vexing Bauble, I talked about how I can use it as an infinite draw outlet, which is great. But the most important thing is, hey, if I don't have anything I can do, it never hurts to just draw 1 extra card and try to get there.
100%.
And then Wheel of Fortune. I'm not on any crazy Wheel of Fortune loop, but I can do Pinnacle Monk. Cast Wheel of Fortune, cast Pinnacle Monk, get Wheel of Fortune back, get enough mana to recast Wheel of Fortune. Then I can copy Pinnacle Monk to like cast Wheel of Fortune for like a 3rd time in a turn. which is pretty cool. Like as long as you have like a Grand Arbiter in play or something, like you can get really shenanigansy with it. But like
right.
most of the time, it's I have 0 cards in hand. Let's wheel and see what we can do next.
100%.
Or I use it a lot for if somebody tutored for something, earlier, and I haven't seen it yet. I'll just cast a wheel to try to get it out of their hands. Or I mean, a lot of times I'll cast Wheel of Fortune as a I know somebody has something in their hands that's valuable, and I'm trying to go for a win con. I just won a game recently casting Wheel of Fortune to get a counter spell out of somebody. Once they countered it, then I went for my win con to see. So it's a risky decision to do, but when they have it and they can't discard their hand, like it's really nice to do that. And the worst thing is you discard your win con and you just draw a different one, and
right,
you're fine.
I mean, you're gonna lose either way. Why not gamble on like a fresh 7?
Yeah,
like people get more interaction.
If I don't have interaction right now, I'll cast this Wheel of Fortune, knowing 100% somebody's gonna counter it. And if they don't, then like cool, I just discarded their hand and got my hand. But like, sometimes that's what you do. And like I said, this deck combos so many different ways. All you need is a separate card and you can go for it.
Yeah. Notably, this just popped in my head. 2-layer question. First part of the question is you technically do have the Wheel of Fortune, Lion's Eye, Diamond Press, Underworld, Breach combo in this list. If you all are watching this, there's a gameplay that's coming out on Monday, on December 16th, where I actually use that combo in a 5-color deck, Wheel of Fortune, LED plus Underworld Breach, to get me to my Brain Freeze, which is really, really hot. And if you run a card called Angel's Grace, where you are running it, you can use it to actually, you can just like,
I don't lose when I draw my last card.
Exactly. Everyone else just dies, and so it's just you still have the utility of Breach around it. And like people say, what about Otawara or Boseiju? Well, the cool thing is I see a Savine's Reclamation in here, and I also see a Deflecting Swat, so you're good for that. So I love that inclusion. And I wanted to first ask, is that a combo that you see yourself using, or is it more like each of the cards? Yeah,
that's brilliant. I could add it to my win con. Yeah. I've never thought about that as a loop. I know I could. I always knew I could like loop it with like Pinnacle Monk, but at that point, I'm also like, if I'm looping Pinnacle Monk, I can also just make infinite 1/1s and kill everybody at the table.
Exactly.
But so like, there's always like those win more like moments, but it's like if I'm making infinite Pinnacle Monks, then I should probably just kill everybody with combat damage. But like, say they have a 1 ring or something, and you can't
hit them,
target them, you just make them. Yeah, that's another way around 1 ring. I guess I have another third way to win around 1 ring. So I'll add that to my win con.
No, 100%. And so I love that. I love it. Once again, y'all, please don't add Angel's Grace for the pure reason, I want my Adnaz to be better. No, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think Adnaz is just a powerful card in general. But if you do Breach lines with Fairy Mastermind or Wheel of Fortune, maybe even Windfall, I do like that extra layer of like infinite draws on my opponents and just Angel's Grace so I don't die myself. I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that. My second layered question was around Angel's Grace, and I noticed we're running a Final Fortune, and I wanted to know if there was ever any times where you ever saw yourself leveraging Pinnacle Monk, Angel's Grace, Final Fortune, your commander, to get multiple ETDs with Pinnacle Monk.
100%. I actually just played in a game where I silenced. There was one player that was about to win, and I literally silenced them every turn. Every one of their turns, I silenced them because I was able to Jolly Blue Man, Pinnacle Monk. I think I had a Sticker Goblin in play, and on 4, and then its copies was making 5. So I was on my turn. I would tap my Jolly Blue Man. I would make a copy of Sticker Goblin. I'd make like 5 red. I'd use 3 of it because I had Staff of Domination in play. I'd untap Jolly Blue Man, and I'd use 1 of that mana to copy Pinnacle Monk. And then I'd grab my Silence back from the graveyard, and then I would pass turn or whatever. I'd do whatever, and then I'd use my like 1 red and something, and then I would just play whatever. We were all trying to stop this player from winning, and then I just kept silencing. I think I silenced him on like 4 turns in a row, and like he couldn't interact because he was playing what was it? He was playing it's some graveyard. The graveyard Tameshi? No. What's the one that for 3 mana you remove 3 counters and you put
Tyam?
a creature like Tyam. He's playing Tyam.
Yeah.
And I just kept silencing Tyam on their turn, and they couldn't cast Tyam. They had like it all set up. All they had to do was cast Tyam, and every turn I was just silencing them, and they were just like not getting. And I was like, this would be great in like 1v1. Like just Pinnacle Monk silence Jolly Balloon Man, just like every turn, just never let them play the game for the rest of the game.
100%.
But yeah, it was great. I have not done Angel's Grace in a game, though I have used Pinnacle Monk to grab an Angel's Grace, keep me from losing, then grab it again, keep me from losing. The ability to do that is great. Like to have that in your back pocket where you can just know you're not going to lose any turn, like until you stop that combo to try to win yourself.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely come up.
No, I definitely feel you there. Honestly, like I love the utility of, once again, I keep saying this, but I love the utility of Angel's Grace as not just a win con, but also notably a removal and interaction piece that kind of stops people from winning the game. And so can we just get into our removal and interaction package? Like just talk to me about how we're stopping our opponents. Yeah.
So interaction package is, I actually really love this interaction package. I'm on a Braid. A Braid is just a solid card. I really just love the 3 damage. It's usually perfect to take out people's commander or creatures that try to win the game, like Displacer Kit and things like that. You can take them out. Destroy an artifact comes up a lot too. There's a lot of artifacts that suck, like we talked about. People can't activate their commanders. Like creature abilities can't be activated. Like ETBs can't come in. Like all those artifacts that shut down my deck, I want to be able to braid them, get rid of them. It's also really cool because the braid I can loop it with Pinnacle Monk. I mean, pretty much any of these interaction pieces, Pinnacle Monk can just keep looping them back to my hand, which is nice. Angel's Grace is one of the MVPs in this deck. I can't tell you how many times people try to win with Athasas. I Angel Grace them, stop them from winning. I can't tell you how many times people. There's even a game on my YouTube where somebody milled me out. But they milled themselves out at the same time, and it was just the 2 of us left, and they passed turn, and I was like, on my upkeep I cast Angel's Grace, and they're like, oh shit. And not only that, but like I didn't do this, though I could have. I had all this mana open. I could have Savine's Reclamation from there after they milled me out to kill me. You Angel's Grace, then you have Savine's in your graveyard at that point. You can use Savine's to get Underworld Breach back. Thanks for milling me out with a brain freeze, by the way, because now I just have like LED infinitely, and I can just put together any combo. You choose which one you want to lose to. Let's cast Grand Abolisher first, so you can't even interact with the rest of my turn. Things like that, and you can easily do that with Angel's Grace, and it's I feel like not enough people run it, but it's such an MVP card for me. Like not being in blue, being able to stop somebody from winning, being able to not lose when somebody does something crazy, and you're just like, oh, you can't respond to this. It's just way too powerful.
100%.
Next, we have Cavern of Souls. I put this in as interaction just because it's my way of interacting with not being able to get countered. Not countering Jolly Balloon Man is really important. Not countering Village Bellringer is really important. A lot of my pieces are combo pieces. A lot of them are creature-based combo pieces. So all I have to do is name human, and I think about 78% of my creatures are covered by Cavern of Souls. So 100%. Great card. Conqueror's Flail, easy to get, easy to throw in my bin, easy to put back into play from the bin. I get around counter spells that way. Like Goblin Engineer cheats it in, and then I can equip it. If somebody doesn't have creature removal, like hello, you can't interact with me on my turn. Perfect interaction piece. I love Conqueror's Flail. Deflecting Swat, my commander's almost always in play. This deck heavily revolves around having your commander in play, so Deflecting Swat is always like the perfect card to have in your opening hand. It does so much. I mean, you can use it offensively, defensively. I'm sure everybody knows Deflecting Swat is just a good card, and having a commander that comes down turn 2 most times, like it's a no-brainer to be in the deck.
100%.
Duelcaster Mage, like we talked about earlier, it's a combo piece, it's a counter spell, it's so much. The only thing I don't like about Duelcaster Mage is once it's in play with Jolly Balloon Man, I don't have the ability to go into a Duelcaster Mage combo. because
yeah.
I can't copy it. All the things that it interacts with are sorcery speed, and and Jolly Blue Man sorcery speed. So I can't. Sadly, the reason I originally took it out was because once it's in play, I can't like cheat with it, and I can't also like cast a bunch of spells and activate it. Right, like I can't do anything. Like I can't even like activate Jolly Blue Man, hold priority, cast an instant, because the instant will be gone by the time Duelcaster Mage hits the table. So like it's a dead card once it's in play. So like if you can kill it, or you know, whatever you need to do, like if you can get rid of it and then get it back with like an Underworld Breach, you can go for your win. But other than that, that's the only problem with that card.
Yeah.
But it is it's a human, so you can sack it to Pyre of Heroes, get it in the grave, and then like go get whatever else, like a 4-drop human, like Oriox Salvager or Witch's Enchanter. In Geo, the seat of the Ganjo, whatever.
I got you.
in Ganjo, Feel the Empire, great card. I can't tell you how many people I have got with this card. They can't interact with it, like they can't counter it. Like the only thing you can do is give their stuff like hexproof, which is very rare. So I mean, great card. Like when somebody attacks with a creature they shouldn't, they can't lose, or like an Orcish Bowmaster, just to be like, oh, I guess I'll just add 1 to that person, you know, and that doesn't have a blocker, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you, and I kill it, and they're just like, what? Like I didn't even need to attack with it. I'm like, I know, but you did. After that, Flare of Duplication, really good card in this. It's a counter spell. I can usually just sack Jolly Balloon Man. It doesn't hurt me at all. Ragavan is a perfect card to sack to Flare of Duplication. I have tons of creatures that I can just sack to it and not care. Like Charming Scoundrel, I don't care. Duelcaster Mage, once it's done its thing, like I don't care. I can sack it. Like it's just a perfect card in this, because I can also like, if I have a copy of a creature and they try to do something on my turn after I've already copied something, like I can just sack the balloon copy. So
well, not the balloon copy, but the original one, because
sorry,
same just. I feel the intention. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, I most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, I sack Jolly Balloon Man and just recast it. Grand Abolisher, perfect card in this deck. I'm not blue, so if I can get that down, usually it sticks around for some reason. I don't know. Every time I've cast it, I usually get another turn, and if I don't win, then you know, then it usually doesn't get taken care of again. So I've had it sit around a couple turns, and I love that card. I can go search for it. Pyroblast. I mean, I will say both Red Blast and Pyroblast, in my recent tournament that I just played in, I was in a game where I literally countered 2 Rhystic Studies because I had Pyroblast in my opening hand, and then I like drew Red Elemental Blast like right after, and 2 people tried to go 2 people tried to cast Rhystic, and I countered both of them, and it was just really funny. Like this card is specifically here to like stop Rhystics, protect my win lines. I usually use them defensively, but I am very much not opposed to, like, if I see a Rhystic, this is what this is for. I will counter that, or a fish. Card draw, if somebody out card draws me, not that this is a card draw deck, but if somebody draws too many cards, like there's no way it's hard for me to win against that. So I really try to keep those off the table.
Okay. I feel that.
Ranger Captain, perfect interaction piece. My favorite thing about Ranger Captain is A, it gets me a 1-drop. B, I can copy Ranger Captain on my turn, sacrifice my copy, and then I also get to just keep my Ranger Captain. So guess what? I get a free silence on my turn, and a 1-drop colorless silence on my turn.
Right.
And like from there, I can just like cast a Village Bellringer and go for a win. Like it's awesome. Also, I get to search for another 1-drop. So like I can go get Sarah Ascendant, and then say if I have Pyre of Heroes, then I can sack. You know, there's just so many lines you can do off of Ranger Captain. Once you like make a copy and sack it, like you can just go do a bunch of fun stuff. So that's really cool. Silence I use all the time. What's fun in this deck is you can just use it like willy-nilly. Like you don't have to just save it for your turn. If you go get like a Pinnacle Monk, you like I was talking about earlier, you can just like silence people. On my turn, copy Pinnacle Monk, grab silence back. Like if there's that one person that just keeps trying to win, and then eventually you just silence on your turn, and then if they don't counter it or whatever, okay, say they do counter it. Say you do have silence in your hand on your turn. You cast it, they counter it. You activate, copy Pinnacle Monk, put silence back in your hand, cast silence again. Do you have it again? No? Okay, then I'm going to go for it. So there's a lot of cool interaction you can have with silence. The MVP for interaction in this whole deck is Skyclave Apparition. I can talk all day about Skyclave Apparition. It is such a powerful card. Being able to copy it, like you can get rid of a One Ring, and not only do you get rid of a One Ring, you're also giving that player like a 4/4 illusion or a 3/3 illusion, 2/2 illusion, and they don't swing it at me. I don't use my life totals. I basically hire another player at the table to beat an Adnos player in the face. I'm like, hey, I exiled your One Ring, but take that 4/4 and shove it in that like Rog size face for the rest of the game. Right. It's perfect. It's like the perfect card. Like you're like, and then I'm gonna do it again. Like the first time I cast it, comes in exile something, then I just use Jolly Balloon Man to copy it and exile the next thing, and then I sack that at the end of my turn, and you get whatever, like a 3/3 or a 4/4. But like, it really gets out of control fast. Swords of Plowshare, kill creatures, touch the Spirit Realm. It's just a really good card to get rid of creatures or artifacts. I usually channel it. I usually channel it to flicker or something, but like I think I used this. Somebody had a creature and I needed to get rid of it to win, and I got rid of it for channeling it, and then knew I could get through the win. Witch's Enchanter just gets rid of Ristics. I don't like Ristics or fish, so Witch's Enchanter is just a prime card to like. In this deck, you can just keep copying it. So like, I kill your Ristic, and so you're like Oprah Winfrey, and you get a destroyed enchantment, and you get a destroyed artifact, and you get a destroyed. Like, it's just like you just keep doing it, and like even if that's all you can do, like say you have an untap effect, and I cast one, and then I make like 2 copies of it. Like, I mean, you're destroying probably some pretty important things for people to try to win. Which you just have to wait to get back to your next turn and you go for a win. So interaction is really fun in this deck. It's a lot of protection, but a lot of also. I guess I didn't put. I guess my other interaction should be the flaming revel in silence.
Revel in silence.
Revel in silence.
100%. Yeah. No, I love this removal interaction package, and I also love that you really like you brought it up within the Revel in Silence, also touched on the board player and spell protection, this ability to use spells like Deflecting Swat and Duelcaster Mage and Flare of Duplication to say, all right, I can counter your spell, or I can also redirect it or copy it to protect whatever I'm also trying to do. And I love like the Conqueror's Flow, the Grand Abolisher, the Ranger Captain Silence, Revel in Silence. I love silence effects, so those bring me a lot of joy to see, and just the layering, once again, to keep bringing up, the layering is amazing. And so
and the big thing is, even if you get a silence effect countered, you just took away one of their counters, so like then you can push after that.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, you good, brother. No, you brought up an amazing point within that. Like, I had a game recently where I lost, not because like it wasn't because the deck error was due to user error, where I bring up like I felt like I could have been more aggressive with how I used my interaction, and being okay with, my silence effect was countered, but I can keep pushing in a different way. And it's a feel, what I'm saying? It's not always just, silence effect was countered, let me just keep pushing. No, it's a feel, but there's sometimes where you say, no, I'm gonna make them have it, and if they don't have it, I'm gonna try again next turn, and I'm try again next turn, and keep going from there.
Keep going for it.
No, 100%. Well, I love this package, and like now we've talked about ways to disrupt our opponents, but I want to get a little deeper on that. Can you talk to me about your Stax package?
Yeah. So this Stax package, I think it's not that like heavy, right? It's
right.
Like I said, this is a Staxy type deck, but it's not like too far into stacks where I think it's like right where it needs to be. So Blind Obedience is in here. It's a win con. It's really in here as a win con, but when I get it down turn 1, it affects everybody so hard that that's great. Like, this is one of the cards I'm looking, like any one of these pieces are what I'm looking for turn 1. Deafening Silence, I love this card. This card in this deck is beautiful because it turns my Red Blast and Pyroblast into a guaranteed counter. Because usually I'm casting creatures, and when I'm like ready to cast Jolly Balloon Man and somebody goes, I counter it, and I go Red Blast, and then they're like, wait, I can't. And I'm like, yeah, you already cast your spell. Like, anybody else have it? And then people are like, no, shoot. And the guy's like, oh, I have like 3 pieces of interaction. I'm like, you can only use the one. So like Deafening Silence is just great because I'm always casting creatures. And a lot of the times once I have Jolly Blue Man in play, I'm just copying creatures and getting value, and I'm just like milking that and getting completely around it. It doesn't affect me that much. And I can cast as many creatures as I want. So usually I'm just like, maybe an artifact, creature, and then it's perfect for this deck. And then Drannith, like I said, has just been added, stops Underworld Breach, stops all those things. Once again, it's a thing that doesn't affect me. Like Blind Obedience doesn't affect me. Deafening Silence doesn't really. I mean, there's win cons in my deck I can't do. Like I can't do infinite LED cast off Auriok Salvager. But maybe that's a reason for me to put in what you were talking about, the staff, that I can destroy it once I get to that point. Because I was finding that needing to get rid of Deafening Silence sometimes is a thing I need to do. And usually I'm like banking on like a Direfleet Daredevil to like copy something, and then or I can't like sack it to like my artifact stuff because it's enchantment. So like Deafening Silence is really good, but there's definitely times that I'm like, shoot, I need to get rid of it. But either way, there's so many ways I can win around it that it doesn't come up too often. Drannith Magistrate, like you just said, it's like one of the best stacks pieces in the deck. 2 mana drop. It's a human. It gets me my human stuff off of Mana Echoes. It gets me my human stuff off of just being able to sack it to Prior of Heroes to go get the next thing. Frame Skull Celebrant, that silence effect can be used as a stacks piece, as well as Flame Source Celebrant itself. If I have it in play, if there's like somebody's trying to go like infinite Kinnan or activations or something, maybe they wouldn't do infinite Kinnan, but infinite
Thrasios or some
Thrasios like or even a Jolly Blue Man deck at the table itself, like it can't do that, So there's just so many combos that this can just kill just by being in play. Normally I'm probably not casting as a creature. I'm probably sitting on it for its instant ability. But if I have Prior of Heroes in play, I will instantly cast this to sack it to go get the Village Bellringer.
100%. All day, every day.
Grand Abolisher, stacks piece, not interact on my turn. I mean, that's what gets better than that.
100%.
Karn the Great Creator. This card, like I said, somebody hit up Celestial Winter, asked him about Karn the Great Creator, how he feels. The last 2 times I played with him, I got this down like turn 1 or 2, like turn 2, or turn 2 and 2 or turn 3, I think. And it just locks people out of the game. I mean, if you're not playing creature heavy decks and you get a Karn in play and they can't like hurt it enough, because it starts at 6 basically. You're always plussing it immediately. So it starts at 6. So like I have enough creatures in my deck where if I do have this in play and I'm not tapping Jolly Balloon Man, it's a 1/4 you have to get through. You're probably not. So like you're attacking me with 2 creatures. You're hoping that, you're hitting me maybe with 1. You're bringing it down to 4. Are there enough people at the table to keep hitting it? And also, do other people at the table want it gone? Because a lot of time there's the other person that's like, actually, this isn't affecting me as much right now. Like I'm maybe using 1 mana rock, but you're out. So like it sticks. Like this card sticks around a lot, and it can just completely take somebody out of the game. Rangers Captain, obviously use it to stop somebody that's trying to win. I love this card when somebody else plays it. I can't tell you how many times somebody's Ranger Captain me on my upkeep to try to stop me from winning, and then they really just take every other player out of the game, and I'm just like, cast Village Bellringer, and then they're like, oh no, and I'm like, yeah, untap all my creatures, play another creature. Like right. I can play as many creatures as I want, and it's fine. So like, can't tell you how much I love that card, and especially just playing against it. It's great. Smothering Tithe, if I can get this down early, my deck gets pretty nuts. If I can just, like I said, I built it for like 4 mana. You can really run the deck off like 3 or 4 mana, fine. But if you get extra mana, like there's just so much utility. Staff of Domination, lines, like getting extra activations off of Jolly Balloon Man to get more value, more copy effects. Like you can really get out of control once you get a Smothering Tithe down and people aren't paying. It happens all the time, and it's super easy to cast. So
100%. Yeah.
I put Staff of Domination in here. It's kind of a stacks piece. I've used it to tap other people's creatures. When people have abilities like mine that can only be activated at sorcery speed, or even like tapping something on their upkeep before they can really use it. Super huge. I've done it many times. And then Vexing Bauble, obviously it just stops everybody casting their 0-drops. I literally have 1 0-drop in the whole deck. This card can stay in play literally the entire game until somebody tries to win, and I go, wait. If Vexing Bauble was gone, do you stop this player from winning? And they go, 100%. I go, okay. And I crack it and draw a card. And then
100%.
grab it back later and put it back into play after, my next turn. So it's my Stax passage, like I said, it's not like crazy overdone, but like they're just the right pieces that keep me in the game long enough for me to pull my win and stop people from doing theirs.
100%. No, I agree with that 100%. I really do believe that it's like, I don't think you need a lot of stacks to get the job done, but I think like you found that perfect flow of where all my stacks pieces get me towards the winning in a unique way, where it's not just I'm trying to stop you all. It's like, I need to slow the game down just a little bit, or I need to push this Dranith or Flame Scroll Celebrant into a Village Bell Ringer. Just so many options that layer perfectly together, or extorting with Blind Obedience. It's all really, really perfect to allow you to just do really unique things. And so with that said, we've talked about slowing down a table, but talk to me about your ramp package. Like, how are you speeding up your own game plan?
What's funny is this deck is so much ramp. I guess like you wouldn't think it, but maybe you would. I mean, it's red, it's white, but like I don't think you think ramp when you think of that. Right. But let's just start off with the all-star. It's Sticker Goblin in this deck.
Yep.
This deck, if I get Sticker Goblin and any of the stickers on like 5 or 6, it's nuts. Like even if I have all 4s, like I'm still fine. Like I'll cast the first one. It costs me 3 mana, I bank 1. So basically I'm making 1 extra mana out of what I would have had. So I go 4 mana, I use Jolly Balloon Man, use 1 of that goes down to 3, make the next one. Then that's 7. I have 7 red to do whatever I want with. I play a lot of artifacts. The colors don't really matter a lot of times. 7 red can get me a lot of things. And then on top of that, like I have abilities to like sack the Sticker Goblin copies, so I can keep going. If I'm making like infinite mana, I can make infinite mana off them in different ways. So that card's just explosive. If I get it down turn 1 or like turn 1 or 2, it's pretty nuts. Ancient Tomb I put in here. It's obviously just it taps for 2.
Soul land like with City Traders.
Yeah, City Traders. Arcane Signet. It's a nice ramp to just get down. Ashnod's Altar combo piece, and my Jolly Balloon Men, they die at the end of my turn anyway. So if I have this early game, even as just a value piece, like every village or every creature I create off of the balloons, I just sack them, and who gives a crap? I just made 2 extra mana, and it pays for the 1 mana I used, and then I have an extra mana, so now I have 2 mana to do something. And then if there's something I really want to get down, like a Karn, I'll just sack like 2 creatures, throw Karn down, get that in play, or sack 2 creatures, get a Basalt in play. Like there's so many ways, and like my creatures don't hold like that much value to me a lot of times that I don't mind sacking like a Ragavan or like certain creatures that maybe I'm not copying. But like depending on what I'm sacking them for, like there's a lot you could do.
And I did have a question. So as we get through these ramp pieces, like we've actually had the pleasure of talking about most of these like pretty much already. Like outside of what we talked about for this ramp package, are there anything that notably you want to bring up, like with any of these cards that we haven't had the opportunity to talk on yet? Like I know we haven't talked about Jessica's Will or any of that. Like anything notable you want to touch on?
Yeah, let's just touch on, I mean, like all the other ones are what they are, right? City Traders, Felwar Stone, Gemstone Caverns, Chromox. Those are what they are. The one that people don't really think about is Goblin Welder in this deck is nuts. So I can tell you there's a handful of games where I like casted like a Charming Scoundrel early, or like I had like a Mox Mana Vault like turn 1, got that down, and then was able to like cast like Arcane Signet, Charming Scoundrel like off of like an Opal, and then like make a treasure, go into my next turn, or I'm sorry, like get a Goblin Welder out or something like that as well, right? And then I like go to my next turn, and I'm like off the Charming Scoundrel would come in, I discard like a Basalt Monolith or a Soul Ring or something, probably Basalt Monolith, and that's in my bin now. So now Goblin Welder, I go ahead, activate Goblin Welder, sack the Mana Vault, put Basalt back in play, use that to cast Jolly Balloon Man, like tap 3 colorless, use 2 of my colors, get Jolly Balloon Man in play, use 1 of the colorless off of the Mana Vault to copy Goblin Welder, make a hasty copy of Goblin Welder, tap it, sack the Basalt Monolith to put the Mana Vault back in play. Now I got another 3 colorless I can play with. On top of the one that so now I have 4 colorless mana that I can pretty much cast like any artifact I want for my deck at that point, because nothing's over 4 mana. So like One Ring, whatever I want, I can cast any of these artifacts. Ashnod's Altar, like Felwar, even like a Felwar Stone, like you can just shoot so much mana out of nowhere with Goblin Welder, and then it's like the biggest ramp piece that you would never think about. Like even if I have like a Mox Amber and I'm just flickering like between a Mox Amber and a Basalt Monolith, like you're still netting like 4 mana with 1 color, you know? So Goblin Welder is just a little menace of his own.
I love,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Also gets rid of the One Ring of another player, which is always nice.
Bingo. That's true. That's true. If they crack that Lotus Petal early game too, put the One Ring
in
board,
play.
Just let's make that swap real quick.
And what's fun is like you can surprise people by like casting a Goblin Welder and before like, and then they're like, oh shoot, Goblin Welder, I have a One Ring, and then you're like, copy it with Jolly Balloon Man, and then they're like, what? And then you're like, the hasty one is gonna get rid of your One Ring. So like they don't even have a moment to like realize that they're gonna lose the One Ring that turn, instead of being like, oh, I have like a turn, I'm gonna have to try to get rid of this Goblin Welder. It's like it's already happened. Like if you didn't counter it because you didn't like think about it, or you didn't like realize that I was gonna copy it and immediately like get rid of your One Ring, like it's really that Goblin Welder is just so shenanigansy in this deck with the ability to give it like haste basically.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like I think you bring up really great points. And so in addition to the sneakiness of Goblin Welder, are there any other notable ramp pieces that we haven't been able to touch on?
Yeah, so Jeskai Will is huge. It ramps you into 3 extra cards. It gives you can just win off Duelcaster Mage lines like right off the bat in the beginning. That's a really good one. Mana Echoes, we already went heavily through how good that one is. I would say that's my favorite card in this deck. I guess Professional Facebreaker is really huge. By copying Professional Facebreaker, like we talked about, you attack 2 separate people. They both have Menace. They hit 2 separate people, you instantly make 4 treasures, which can be huge. If you have another creature to even hit another player, like the 3rd player, you can make 6 treasures, which is nuts. And then you can start exiling those treasures if you want to dig more, or you can start using them for combos. Ragavan is a really good early turn, either ramp you if you get Ragavan late, it's a good sack creature, or you can do other things with it, which is nice. But other than that, I mean, everything else is pretty standard. Smothering Tithe it'll ramp you if people let it hit the table, and everything else is just normal ramp that you'd have in a deck.
Okay. I like what I'm hearing. Well, geez, bro. We've talked about an amazing ramp package, and so like we got to talk about the roots of how we get our mana, our land base. And so I want to ask, are there any notable cards in our land base that we haven't had the opportunity to touch on? Like in addition, of course, to the Allsmite Ganjo and all that other fun stuff. Any notable land cards we'd like to touch on?
I'd say Elegant Parlor is one of them. That's the Surveil land. That land comes in pretty clutch. Late game off of fetches. Basically just running. Anything else is just the basic fetch package. City of Brass, Mana Confluence. Nothing too crazy. I think the thing that sets this deck apart is the amount of man lands I'm running. Like Mutavault, Inkmoth Nexus, and Blinkmoth Nexus to just go for those combo pieces. But other than that, it's pretty basic. Nothing.
Okay, I like it.
Nothing too crazy.
Like it. Cool. Nothing too crazy. We just win with our land base. Nothing too crazy. I play my later with the game. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
I love it. Well, I want to get into some playtest hands, but before we did, I want to ask: are there any like last notable categories for cards that really like sum up how powerful Jolly Balloon Mana is, or to give the audience a better perspective of why this is the deck they need to try out for their Boros cEDH commander?
Yeah, so I have a specific slot in mind called just utility. Because this deck is such a utility deck, which is why I love it. I love it as like a Swiss Army knife. You can always pivot with this deck into doing different things. And I think the biggest thing that this deck has going for it is its utility. So some of the utility pieces I just kind of want to go over is Direfleet Daredevil. Such a huge piece in this deck. Like it doesn't really fit in interaction because it can be interaction, but it can also be a lot of things. I have Direfleet Daredevil, so many things. Like I have Adnaz with Direfleet. I have somebody was gonna go for a win with their library, and on their next turn, like they pitched a card, they like entombed or something on their turn, and then or like got countered or something, and they were like gonna go for a breach line or something on their next turn, and I like Direfleet Daredevil for like their own creature that, or not their own creature, but Direfleet Daredevil for a card that reanimated a creature. It was like reanimate, and I reanimated their creature that shuffled their graveyard back into the bottom of their library. And it was like the coolest interaction ever. Like Direfleet Daredevil can just do so much. And when you're like doing that, and then you have the ability to copy it and do something else from somebody else's graveyard, like it gets nuts. Like you can really go any which way. Like I've like Demonic Consultation for a card that I wanted. Like there's just so much you can do. And then the other utility that I can't talk more about is Final Fortune.
Of course.
In this deck, one extra turn is almost always what you need to win. You just need that one. If I only had one extra turn, I could have won. If I only had one extra turn, guess what? Final Fortune, Angel's Grace.
Right.
Two of the greatest inventions ever. I can't tell you how many times I'll Final Fortune with an Angel's Grace in hand. And I'm not even like, I can't even win. I'm just like Final Fortune. And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, let's see what I get. And then I'm like, okay. Like I actually got a lot I can do a bunch of utility stuff. And then I either get there, and if I don't, at the end, I'm like, oh, move to I'll just Angel's Grace here. Literally. And then, you know, pass turn. But like, you can even Final Fortune, Angel's Grace, Pinnacle Monk into Final Fortune, take another extra turn after that turn. Use Pinnacle Monk to get back your Angel's Grace. Angel's Grace
copy it.
Let me just keep going until I win this game. I'm gonna keep going.
Shit, if you have like a cockroach whale, if you have an untap effect, that's infinite turns at that point. Like shit.
Yeah, that's just infinite turns. So I mean, there's just so much you can do with Final Fortune in this deck. But like 100%. Angel's Grace, if you're playing Final Fortune, you should be on Angel's Grace. I will cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye on that one. Like, I swear that card. Other than that, like, I guess the utility piece that we haven't talked about, Seer Ascendant. I have it in this deck. I know a lot of people, like, even we've talked a lot about it. Like, I've been on and off of it. I've actually taken it out, put it back in, taken it out, put it back in. It's just too good in this deck against Adnaz decks for me to like turn 1 Seer Ascendant, turn 2 Jolly Balloon Man, copy Seer Ascendant, hit somebody for 12, gain 12. Like, it's just so good to like hit somebody for 12 that has like an Adnaz or a Necropotence, and all of a sudden, instead of looking for like 30 cards, they can only look at like 20 or maybe less. Like, because now they're like, oh, if I don't win this Saracen, if I go to 10, I die. If I go to 12, I die because I can't block it as flying. And the 1/1 copy comes in as a 1/1 balloon, but it still has the ability. So like, it can just ruin Adnaz players' days. And with the addition of Pyre of Heroes, like, now I can really just sack it and go get like a Charming Scoundrel if I need, or you know, whatever 2-drop. Maybe I need a Direfleet Daredevil because somebody threw an Adnaz in a graveyard late game. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, Prayer of Heroes, the Seer Ascendant, grab Direfleet Daredevil, cast your whatever out of your graveyard. Like, there's just so much utility that having like 1-drop humans can get me to these 2-drop humans.
100%. I feel that.
And then the last card is your card. You put me on it, actually, like Savine's Reclamation. Like, I love that card. Ever since I saw you play it like in one of our games, and you just like blew us out with the Savine's.
Was that what Wavy when it was like Glar versus Marnie or something like that?
I'm sure. I don't know. It was early on when we started playing. I was like, what? Like, because I didn't even know. Like, I've never really seen. I don't know. I played a lot of cEDH, but like, I just guess I didn't play against a lot of white because like, I don't recall seeing Savine's Reclamation as much back in the day when I was playing Teferi. But I guess, you know, now, like, I feel like every white deck, you got to play it. Like, especially on Breach. Can't tell you how many times, like, somebody mills me or something to, like, you can just Savine, you can cast Savines out of your graveyard. Like, cool. Thank you. Now I get Breach. Now I go win the game because 100%. You did that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. Yeah. it's like, even in like Marnius, I was hesitant on running it because I wasn't on Breach for such a long time. Marnius being Esper, no red. But I mean, I bring up a game, I'll tag it up here, where we were literally playing, it was me versus Glarb. He was second seed, I was third seed, and then I think you were on this list, and we had Praetor playing his Vorinclex list, and it was just us going back and forth.
That was awful.
Yeah, it was just like counter after counter after
Vorinclex.
counter, and then right at the end, where I thought I got him, he top decks Glarb. If you all are not familiar, Glarb allows you to cast mana value 4 or greater spells off the top of your library, and he top decked a Force of Will and fucking Force of Willed my shit, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna make these treasures and let's try again. Savine's Reclamation, the time sieve. So it even though it may not be a win con all the time, like, because you don't have intuition piles per se for Breach, it is just that card that it just gets so much back. Yeah,
I'll say in the tournament, my second game that I won was they countered my Village Bellringer.
Yeah,
off of like a Pact of Negation, and then my next turn I was like, Savine's Reclamation.
Yep.
And it just puts Village Bellringer back. I mean, that's the main idea for it, right? It literally puts Village Bellringer back into play after it gets countered. So as long as you don't exile it, Savine's comes down, I can Village Bellringer again, go for the win. So 100%. And pretty much this entire deck is 3 mana. So like it literally gets any one of my creatures that I need to have
100%
back in play.
I definitely hear that. Okay. Man, like, please, like, if y'all are in the chat, drop like mad fire emojis, everything. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much, B. Like, this is an amazing deck tech. You have done such a great job breaking all this down. And before we do any closing remarks, I just want to do a couple playtest hands with you just so they can see all the layered lines and everything for some mulligans, and just see like, all right, how do we actually get into the game? And then we're going to get into the gameplay later. But starting off, let's go down to our playtest hands, and I'm going to roll a cool little D8. And that will tell us what turn we're going. And so you got a 5, so we're going third. I'm going to give us first a... Oh, nope. We have a 5, so we're going third. That means, and we're going to hit this first play test, that means it will be... First 7 is a Bloodstained Mire, an Inkmoth Nexus, and an Urza Saga as our lands. For our Stax piece, we have a Dranth Magistrate. For our ramp piece, we have a Ragavan Nimble Pilfer. For our card draw, we have a Wheel of Fortune, and for our tutor, we have a Pyre of Heroes, and notably the Urzas can also be a tutor as well.
Yeah, I would keep this. This is pretty easy keep right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you draw a card. Turn 1, Ragavan. Like I said, you want to be able to cast Jolly Balloon Man on turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
This hand, I think you probably who are we playing?
Very good question. How did I forget that? Okay, so if we're going third. Seat 1, let's get a little spicy. Roxy, seat 2. Well, no, I'm not gonna do that to you, because like I don't like doing this now that we know the hand before. But
Roxy.
Yeah, seat 1 is Roxy. Seat 2, let's say it's a little bit slower deck. Marnie's Calgar. Seat 3 is us on the Jolly Balloon Man, and seat 4 is, let's do double Esper Tivit, Seller of Secrets.
Okay, so like I would assume there's enough blue at the table that Roxy is not going to just win on turn 1. Sure. I would keep this hand. I would probably draw a card. It would probably be turn 1 Bloodstained Mire and Ragavan, just to establish that ramp. But I'd probably cast Draneth on my next turn would probably be Urza Saga, Draneth, just to keep the Roxy player in check if they're going to go for Breach or anything like that. If they've already sacked Roxy to do things, depending on where they put them, I can also shut down another Roxy cast. Also, Tivit gets affected by Draneth. That's their main win con, so I'm taking them out of the game by just casting this Draneth. But I mean, it's unprotected, but I think that's what you do.
I agree.
And people are going to use most of their interaction on Roxy, so I'd probably keep this. And then once I get rid of my whole hand, I'm probably... I can wheel, and then I can also use that Pyre of Heroes to sack the Draneth to go for a Village Bellringer.
Honestly, oh shit, this is a great... I just looked at it was already a good head in my head, but fuck, you're right.
Yeah. And then by that time, if we're still playing, Urza Saga is going to pop off, and I can go get...
Oh shit.
I mean, if I want to protect myself, I go get the Vexing Shusher. Or not Vexing Shusher, Vexing Bauble. Yeah, stop people from interacting with me on my turn. Oh yeah, so as I already have the Inkmoth Nexus, I have win. Like this
Yeah,
is
no,
win
I
in
just thought
hand.
about this. This like
Yeah,
this
this is
'cause
win in hand.
yeah. I just thought I didn't see it until I looked at it. But
Yeah.
the reason you brought up earlier where Dranith can go into the Village Bell Ringer, you have Pyre in hand, and you have you can get as big as Mana Vault if you want to get off the Urza Saga. Inkmonk gives you the creature to combo with the
Village Bell Ringer. You're done.
Village Bell
You're
Ringer,
good.
so you can just take it slow, establish the Dranith Magistrate, and when you're ready and picking up mana with the Urza Saga and the Ragavan, it's just if we get blown out, we have the will as a backup plan. But honestly,
What's our draw? I'm curious.
oh
to see
yes,
what our draw is.
our draw. It's a fucking Soul Ring.
Oh yeah, that's like I don't know if you do Prior of Heroes down first. Then no, because you need the treasure. You need the treasure off
for
of
Jolly.
I mean, Jolly. You need the treasure for Jolly for the color.
I mean, I'll tell you this though. I mean, I think the Ragavan is the right move because the later the game gets, the tougher it is for Ragavan to get
Plus,
through.
you hit Rogsai with Ragavan. They're not blocking with their.
Yeah, I mean,
not blocking.
Yeah, and that's it. We are lucky to have hit the rock side, but in the event that they do push out of sides because they get blown out on turn 2 and they just got to sit back on the silence game plan for a little bit, I think establishing that Ragavan turn 1 allows us to be aggressive, and then if we want to, we can still just go turn 2 Dranith, crack the treasure, go for a Soul Ring into a Pyre of Heroes. Is someone going to waste the Mindbreak Trap? Maybe, but at the same time, if we leverage Brewer advantage in the average tournament, they're going to be like, all right, we still have a rock side. It's fucking turn 2. This is cool. It's cute, but dude, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, save your counter
and I
magic.
think you might even play. I don't know. You'd be fine. I was gonna say you might even play Inkmoth Nexus on your second turn just to activate it as a creature, so it actually doesn't lose the haste. Like it doesn't. You don't get into a moment where you're like, shoot, it doesn't have haste. I can't use it as a creature to untap with Village Bellringer.
I agree.
So you might even, now that you have Soul Ring, you skip the Urzas as a main objective, and you keep it. You actually keep Urzas longer as a land, which I think you want at that point.
I agree. You took the words out of my mouth. Hand. This is great. Yeah,
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you just fucking, if it all goes to shit, you just wheel everybody and you say, "Let's start over, table." Like let's just reset.
Yeah, get the mana off Urza Saga. Let's wheel and see if I get the gas. If I don't get the gas, fuck it. You know, like at that point, I'm Boros. I'm not playing control. Marnius, Tivit, get him. Get Rockside.
Yeah, that's your guys' job. You have 30 spells in your, or 30 instants Tivit, like at least 20, 25 plus in Tivit. Like yeah. By the way, I just put Tivit back together, so I'm really excited. I just finished building it. Okay. With your order, if you guys are gonna order proxies, please reach out to TTC at the link below. If you're looking at my hands, I'm showing the link below. Those proxies are what I just used to build my Tivit deck, and they're amazing, and I couldn't talk more highly of them. Once my sleeves calmed the hell down, because they're brand new and they are shooting all over the place, I'll be very excited to play Tivit with the TTC proxies.
Thank you for the... Thank you,
I was shuffling that deck like right after I put it together, and I did one shuffle and it literally exploded because none of the cards are sticking like at all. They're all so slippery off those new sleeves.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the new sleeve problem. You love them like once they get broken in, but those first couple shuffles, you're just like,
it's crazy. It's just I've literally just been like pushing down on my cards trying to get any little bubbles out.
I sometimes I'll like get multiple deck boxes and like make a fort around my deck and like, all right, I'll put the deck between these 3 deck boxes and then draw the card. Like
maybe that's the next stage of EDH. We need to be the first people to design a 4 prongs that just hold your deck in one place so that it stops shooting all over the place.
What if they made sleeves that didn't slide on their first initial, you know, like change the material? So like my favorite, I'm not gonna say the brand, but Ultimate Guard. I love Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves. Those are my favorite sleeves, period. Mm-hmm. But what if they upgraded their texture where it's like get the same durability, same feeling, the same smoothness when you shuffle, but then you don't get that initial over glossness where it's
my gosh, they just fly everywhere. It's nuts.
like I love them, but it's just like you got to take almost sometimes, depending on how much you play, half a week to a week to really break the sleeves in. And then you, depending if you tap, you may keep them for another like month or 2, 3 or whatever, not however you play. But yeah, Okay, all right. Business idea. I'm taking this out the video, y'all. Joking,
hey, stop listening. Hey, we have ideas over here. You guys, look away. Look away.
Let's do one more playtest hand before we get to this gameplay, brother. Roll the D8. It is a 7. We're going 4th this time. We're gonna spice it up a little bit. We're gonna have Kenan go first. Second seat will be the Master of Keys. Third seat will be Glarb, and fourth seat will be us on the Jolly Balloon Man. Let's see our first hand. It will be a Talisman of Conviction, Astronaut's Altar as our ramp. We have Symbi's Reclamation as recursion, Touch the Spirit Realm as removal, Professional Facebreaker as a little more ramp, Felidar Guardian as a combo piece and a flicker effect, and Direfleet Daredevil as some steal out of graveyard/graveyard hate.
I'm no scientist, but there's no way we can physically keep this hand.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go check the second 7.
Go to the next one.
All right. Second 7 is a Sacred Foundry and a Blink Moth Nexus as our land base, Mox Diamond as our ramp piece, as well we have a Vexing Bauble as some turn 1 turn 1 stacks piece. We also have a Recruiter Guard as a tutor, Ragavan as more ramp, and a Braid as our removal piece.
Yeah, I'm keeping this.
Mm-hmm.
I am torn. I mean, it depends on what we draw. I'm torn between what you pitch. Like, I feel like I would pitch the Blink Moth Nexus here. As much as it's a combo enabler, it's not needed at this point. We have a Recruiter of the Guard. We're not getting Village Bellringer quickly. Yeah. I would definitely keep this pitching the Blink Moth Nexus, and Ragavan's going to get down right away, and it's going to give you a treasure, which means, like I talked about in our video, we want Jolly Balloon Man out as quick as possible. So we can go Ragavan, or we can go Sacred Foundry, take 2, Mox Diamond, pitch the Blink Moth. And what do we draw here?
Our draw for turn is an Iganjo, Seed of the Empire.
Oh, okay. So I think here you pitch a Ganjo, Seed of the Empire to the Mox Diamond.
Gotcha.
You keep the Sacred Foundry. So then you can go Vexing Bauble.
Okay.
Cast that. Then you go Ragavan.
Yep.
Pass turn. You get back around to you. Now you go ahead and cast that Blink Moth Nexus. You can use that to get down a Jolly Balloon Man. You don't have any extra man. Oh, I guess
the Ragavan if you want to go to combat.
It doesn't matter, but you're not. I don't even know. You might not even cast Jolly Balloon Man here. You might actually just cast the Recruiter of the Guard.
Okay.
I think I'd honestly cast Recruiter of the Guard, because your next turn, if you get a mana, you'll be able to go ahead and I'd probably grab Sticker Goblin off this Recruiter.
Got you to help propel into having an
and then you're gonna
turn.
get a bunch of mana. So then you go Sticker Goblin, then you get Sticker Goblin down. You use your mana to cast Jolly Balloon Man. From there, you just need a white, and then you just start making a lot of mana, and then you start making more recruiters. Once you get the Sticker Goblin down, now you can make another recruiter, which can go get you another creature like Imperial Recruiter. So go get Village Bellringer here, because now you can just win with Village Bellringer. So that's probably the route I'd go with, like a little protection with the Braid to like kill a creature or an artifact that might be messing with you.
Got you. I think these are both great keeps. I'm gonna be honest with you. The second 7, you took the words outside of my mouth about how we would play it out. And once we top deck that land drop, not only on 27 lands, but great land drop that we've been drawing, I think that just sets you up perfectly to do exactly as you said. Just set up for that explosive turn 3, if not a win, setting up for a turn 4 win.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a turn 4 win here, but that's with a Vexing Bauble in play, with who we have at the table. I think that's gonna really throw them all off. And like I said, it doesn't even touch me. Like, Vexing Bauble is so great in this deck, because I'm just like, there's nothing that it's gonna stop me from doing, except for maybe on a rare occasion where I have that and like the whatever you call it, to sack your commander. Right.
Yeah. It's those occasions, and I just think at the end of the day, it's a turn 4 Vexing Bauble, but it's still a great because it's down. And with the decks that we have at the table, it is going to come up times where like we do slow down what they can protect for themselves and what they can progress towards in their turn 2. So it's not the best Vexing Bauble, but it's a Vexing Bauble that is never going to be a dead card, because it's slowing down the table or preventing certain actions, as well as positioning us to be like, all right, cool. Like when I'm ready, I want to infinitely draw with Ariok Salvagers. Once I do some tutor lines with Recruiter of the Guard and LED or whatever the heck I want to do, the option is there. And we also have that removal. So great creeps, kept the first game, second game kept the second 7. So all I have to just ask left is, brother, talk to us, man. Like I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for just coming on and just really sharing this amazing deck tech. Like this is such a layered deck. Like I already respected this deck so much, but now I feel like I just have extra respect for like I like my assumptions of you can't fall to sleep on the Jolly Balloon Man. I feel doubled down for this. It's a deck that's real and we have to respect. So any closing remarks or anything you want people to know about this deck or about yourself and ways that, you know, to just leverage it to being the best deck for them?
Yeah, so I just have to say, if you're not on Jolly Blue Man, worst comes to worst, just go to my Moxfield and just jam a couple test hands with it and just try it out. Like, you will fall in love with this deck. The main thing that I love about it is it gets around, like I talked about, all the free counter magic that people can interact with. It's all based around non-creatures. They're trying to stop non-creature combo lines. So when you have creature combo lines, a lot of times they're just sitting there like, oh no, like I can't do anything about this. And the ones that they do interact with you, like Force of Will or Pact Negation, they have such downsides. So once they do interact with you, they're not winning on their next turn. Or, I mean, I guess with Force they could, but like they're also pitching a blue card, which hurts them a lot. And you just have so much utility with this deck. It's such a Swiss Army knife to be able to like maneuver and switch and stop people from winning while like controlling the board with things like Skyclave Apparition, which can single-handedly, like at the tournament, I ate 2 commanders and a soul ring in 2 turns. Like 2 turn cycles, I had eaten a soul ring, then I copied it, I ate his commander, then on my next turn I ate somebody else's Master of Keys commander. And it's like, the ability to do that is just so huge where you're not casting anything, so they can't even counter. And nobody plays enough creature removal these days. Nobody's playing board wipes. So when you really lean into that creature-centric decks, like there's so much you get around. And by playing white, you can also just say no to people on casting things on your turn, which, you know, is always really fun and lets you get there. So if you haven't tried it, you know, check it out. Also, a little bit about myself. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but I also put out cEDH content. If you check out High Ground Gaming, just released a video about me talking about the last tournament I played in with Jolly Balloon Man. I think that'd be a great segment if you enjoyed listening to me talk about the deck in really deep regards. Like, then listening to how it performed in the tournament, I think would be really awesome for you. So check out High Ground Gaming and Command and Counter section, and would love to hang out with people and jam some games.
100%. Thank you again, B. If you all are looking for any of those links, please check out the link at the bio. You all will see that both in the YouTube video if you're on YouTube, and so just y'all check that out. And I just want to say I honor you and I thank you again, B, for coming on. Like, it really has been amazing to see you develop as a player and also as just a pilot of the Jolly Balloon Man. I'm really looking forward to our gameplay tonight. So, but before we get into that, I got one thing to say to the audience. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our ThunderConductor community, it is a free to join Discord community where we jam games, we have fun talking about brewing strategies, and also just check out leaks and just talk about our experiences and what makes us feel great about this format we love, which is cEDH. Now, we also have extra perks that come with the Thunder Legion. That is our paid Patreon community where they get perks like playing on our live streams, shouts on our YouTube videos and streams, as well as free proxy and discount codes. And if you love that, please just join these amazing brothers. I want to give a huge shout out to our mono red tiers, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxton, the Praetor, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. They rock and they keep the lights on the way that they could not imagine. And last but not least, if you say, AT, I don't want the Patreon, the proxies, the perks. I just want to say one time for the fun time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry. Check out the link in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But with that said, I will see y'all very soon for this Jolly Balloon Man gameplay. Y'all be easy. Peace.